Boris.
Do you listen to me? Yeah?
Right. Hello, this is... Can the translators hear me? The translators are okay. Good. Boris, Antonella needs you. Okay, okay, so now we're going to tell you about the way the steering committee has been working and the forum has been working over the past 10 months. But first we have a small formality which Boris will tell you about.
Yeah. Dear colleagues, as you know, yesterday we had a very tight schedule and we were kind of unable to find time to present you the team that is working on all our electoral processes. So first of all, I would like to introduce you Jaroslav Bekic, who was designated by the steering committee to coordinate the whole election process. He is national coordinator of Belarus and a member of the steering committee. And also would like to introduce you those assessors who were selected by the organizers of the forum and approved by the steering committee. They represent both Eastern Partnership countries and EU countries and have much experience in organizing such things. So we would urge our colleagues, delegates of the forum, to take into consideration that this team is working on all electoral processes and approve the team for further work. If there are any remarks, any opinions, please. Any objections? No. So thank you for your hard work, and we look forward to organizing of next stages of elections. Thank you. Thank you very much. So what we'll try to do during this very short session. First of all, we, as it is mentioned in the agenda, we have to discuss the achievements of the steering committee of the Civil Society Forum, but I think that there were a lot of materials posted in the website of the forum about the activities of the steering committee, of the working groups, of the national platforms. So it will take a lot of time to tell you what we were doing during the last year. So I would suggest, if there are any questions, if there are any opinions, any comments on our work, you just are free to express those. Otherwise, let us focus on more practical things.
Can I just add at this moment, whilst you're thinking, that this has been the first year when we have had a secretariat headed by Natalia Jerashevich, who is sitting at the back of the room struggling with the draft resolutions. But Natalia and her team have been an enormous help, and it's been a great success. Really, she has kept us working and kept us informed. And this idea of the Secretariat has proved to be a great success. And we're also very grateful to the Commission and its funding that has made all this possible. Thank you very much to the Commission. So this has been the first success I wanted to mention. And Natalia, a big round of applause for Natalia and Lucas, who worked, and Ivana and Nastasia. So thank you very much.
Also, the reports on the work of the Secretariat is also posted in the website. So now I may welcome any comment or question, please, if there are any. No, thank you. Then, not to fall behind the schedule more than we are already, I would first of all suggest you to think about the draft strategy that was disseminated before the forum, because there will be a discussion on it after the lunch. So we would ask you to discuss this, to find any opportunity to discuss the document during the working group meetings, during coffee breaks, lunch, and whatever time you can find. Because we will, of course, have shortage of time, as always, to discuss the document substantially here, to make relevant changes. So please try to use any minute you can have. And now, before closing this session, do you want to say something? Yeah. And after Chris will say something else, I would invite Antonella Valmorbida to make a statement. Announcement rather than statement.
Okay, we're breaking into the working group meetings now, and I'd just like to say to you that this civil society forum is not a one-off event. It's not just that you come to Chisinau, or you come to Stockholm, or you come to Poznan, and then you disappear for 12 months. And then you come back again to Tbilisi. This is coming here is a commitment to taking an interest, working and doing things together for the next 12 months. And this includes input. This includes input into the strategy. You have a text, a draft text. Of course, everything can be changed in the strategy. It depends on your ideas. Think about it when you go home, but also talk about this in the working group meetings. Also in the working group meetings, talk about the draft resolutions that have been prepared. People have, thank you very much for the draft resolutions. So really the working group meetings now are a moment to talk about how we see the future of the Civil Society Forum for at least 12 months. Thank you very much. Antonella.
Yes, thank you, Christoph. Just a small announcement. I would like to invite all the EU representatives in the room to meet in this present room at 2 o'clock before the afternoon session, because as EU representatives we don't know each other very well, and we had no chance to discuss over the papers and the elections which are taking place in the afternoon. So please, for EU representatives, we meet here at 2 o'clock during the lunch break. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much.
So, thank you. Now we are joining our working groups. Thank you.
Because of my own great interest and my belief that elections are very important and monitoring of elections is very important, a lot of these activities of the subgroup, of the working group and the election subgroup were concentrated on elections. Thanks to Boris Navasardian, who helped arrange the financing, quite a number of us went to Armenia, and I think we learned a lot, actually. And that gave us a lot of food for thought, and that was a good investment because the Armenian developments came after that. We have lobbied for European Union Parliamentary Assembly and OSCE Parliamentary Assembly members to present an honest and fair picture of elections, and I think we'll continue to do that. over the next couple of weeks, because we have the Azerbaijani election on October the 9th and the Georgian election on the 26th of October. We helped to put together an election observation initiative in Azerbaijan, but unfortunately the EU delegation took such a long time to look at the application that the observation of the election by that group will take place after the election. I don't think this is an accident. I think that the delegation in Baku didn't want this, but they couldn't say no, so they sort of said yes, but too late. And that's something that we have to raise. They also rejected an application from ANAR's, a very good organization, which again is another problem that we'll have to address quite soon, I think. Also, there was an incident with the European Parliament which didn't want to send an election observation team to Baku, and we wrote letters, and also IAJ wrote letters, and the Helsinki Foundation in Warsaw wrote letters to the head of the Parliament saying this is scandalous, that they must observe, they must go, and when they go, they should give an honest account and not just what they think should be happening. This is a very big problem for the European Union side. We have a credibility problem in the parliamentary organizations on election observation. Now, the last thing I wanted to say was that the working group will work if its members work. It is almost impossible to have an active working group just by managing it from the top. If the situation in the subgroups, actually the situation in the subgroups is crucial. For instance, the judiciary reform subgroup, which is a very, very important thing, of course, as you understand, for the whole reform process, is in a state of hibernation. Actually, the person who said he would run it hasn't even come to Chisinau, and from the top we can send emails to people, but actually there has to be some kind of interest. We can't stop this working group because we can't sort of cross it off because it's a very important working group. On the other hand, so this is an appeal to you all to remember that you have to get involved. The human rights subgroup also showed few signs of life after the resignation of Marek Svoboda. It would seem that the human rights subgroup would be a very active one, given that we have human rights problems in most of the countries. But there again, it seems to have gone to pieces. The media subgroup headed by Boris Novosadian is a well-run operation which seems to get on with monitoring in a quiet and determined way, and that's an example of a subgroup that's working. The anti-corruption subgroup is staffed mainly by colleagues from Transparency International, so that they just do their own thing, but they actually haven't done anything as a CSF initiative. They were involved in a major consultative session in Chisinau a few months ago with the Home DG, which is taking over corruption stuff, I think, from the EAS and probably from the Council of Europe. And that apparently was a great success, but that's all that they've done. The visa facilitation group, which will be presenting the results of its work, or has presented the results of its work at the forum, is actually working well. There's a lot of enthusiasm there. And now the priority is to secure the lifting of visas from Moldova, and that is reflected in a resolution that has been prepared. The local government and public administration reform group has been very busy, especially in the second half of the year when Antonella took over the management of this group. It's a very, very good group. It's actually producing results. The only problem I have with the group is that it concentrates on fiscal decentralization. And this is the only thing it seems to care about. It isn't looking, and this is an appeal to the future coordinator of the group, it's not looking at public administration reform as such. And also I would like to see it also looking at issues of corruption at the local level and democracy at the local level, because of course if everything is decentralized, then these decisions will be decentralized and there will be a lot of opportunities for wrongdoing. So it's a very, very good group, but it's monothematic. It just deals with fiscal decentralization. I would appeal that it would start also doing something about public administration reform at the center. This is something that I know that the member states and the Commission is very, very interested in. This is the only thing that they really get excited about at the level of the platform meetings, and we should be matching that, because this is important. Okay, during the year, proposals were made to about initiating a subgroup devoted to other areas, disputed areas. This is Michal Mirashvili, and he would like to, stand up actually, Michal. This is Michal, and if you're interested in disputed territories, in confidence building, etc., speak to him, because this is a very important group, actually, potential group. Sasha, I see you. I'm just finishing. There's also an initiative to establish a subgroup on the issue of minorities in the region. I think we are missing a subgroup which will look at gender issues, including women's rights. Some of us think that this is something that should come from the bottom. If it does come from the bottom, then that's fine. It's not something we can impose. So these are the things that are on my mind. Sasha, did you want to say something? Okay, so Sasha will say. So please, the floor is now yours, actually. And this issue is, do people understand that you have to work over the year and think about things if the working group is to be a success? You can't leave this to the working group coordinators. So please, we have about half an hour for discussion, and then we can move to elections of working group coordinators. I think you probably guess I don't have a work plan for the next year. So please. Okay.
Good morning. I'm Colin Jacobs from the British Council. I'm actually an observer, and it's the first time I've attended one of these forums. But my background is in public administration reform, and so I was very interested by that observation. And really, I suppose my experience is based on a number of countries around the region, Bulgaria, Romania, the Baltics, and the lack of a dimension on the centre of government and public administration reform at this level seems to me a deficit. And I would just echo the words of our chairman, that is an area, a gap, which should be filled. And I'd very much be interested to hear from other participants as to exactly what that would mean in the partnership countries, because I think that's a key question for me. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Mikhail Mirziashvili. I'm from Crisis Management My name is Mikhail Mirziashvili, and I'm from Crisis Management Initiative. It's a Finnish organization working in, Is it working? Like this? Okay. Again, sorry for this. My name is Mikhail Mirziashvili, and I'm from Crisis Management Initiative. It's a Finnish organization. I'm a member of the steering committee as a EU coordinator. Initiative to create a subgroup on the regional security and confidence building was the idea of this initiative was to have discussion how to approach the conflict issue on the Eastern Partnership countries, which is one of the huge problems for these countries, and also how to involve civil society from the disputed territories and conflict zone. You are very welcome. We will have the subgroup meeting on the second room on this second floor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before I go to there's a Ukrainian, can you hear me?
Well, yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Just before I go to the Ukrainian, there's a Ukrainian idea that will be presented in a minute. I just want to say also that please give some thought to the resolutions which we will be passing, which have already been prepared. I don't have the drafts here, but I almost know them off by heart. And there's a resolution on surveillance from Georgia, which is a very important resolution. You heard about this from Manana yesterday, that the police have been recording people illegally, and that now this has been found in the archives, and now there's a whole legal process about doing this, and we're very happy because police surveillance, illegal police surveillance is a problem, but it's not just a problem in Georgia. It's a problem in the other Eastern Partnership countries, and it's a problem actually all over the world. So this is an issue which we're having a resolution about, and again, please, I'd like people to think about that one because it seems to me to be very important. Then we have a couple of resolutions about Georgia, about the frontier problem with Russia, and I can't remember the second one. We have the customs union. Yeah, it is another resolution which is rude, basically, about the customs union. They don't love the customs union. Who does? Then there are 3 or 4 Azeri resolutions about the situation with the elections, with civil society. There is a very interesting initiative, which is probably the first time in the history of the Civil Society Forum that 2 national groups have put a resolution together, the Belarusians and the Azeris, on the problem of political prisoners. There is a resolution from Antonella and the local government group, which maybe you could tell us a little about in a minute. And there's another resolution which I forget. But anyway, we're also interested in resolutions. If you have ideas about resolutions, please speak now, because it'll be too late later. Okay, the man from Ukraine, please.
Thank you, Chris. I'd like to go a little further, and I fully support the proposal of my Georgian colleagues. But the Ukrainian National Platform as well put forward an idea to strengthen a little the, let me say, security sector in our work. The problem of security, especially stressed in the Eastern Partnership roadmaps in both multilateral and bilateral dimension. And here as well, a lot of attention has been paid to create an adequate system of democratic control over national security systems and over the security forces in the countries of the region. The problems of the control of the security forces is of primarily importance for the post-Soviet state countries, because exactly this sector is a bulwark, a stronghold of the Russia in many countries. And there is a strong tendency in these countries to substitute the problems of national security with the problems of the security of the regimes, and conserve the present day situation. So the problem of democratic control, from my point of view, and by the way, from the point of view of the creators of the roadmaps for our activity is very important. So Ukrainian National Platform put forward proposals, and I've got an official statement of the Ukrainian National Security Ukrainian Platform to create a subgroup of democratic control and general security issue. Possibly it is will be wise to connect this idea with the idea of my Georgian colleagues and create the joint subgroup on security issues. I don't know, that's my proposal. Just think about it.
Thank you very much. Maybe you could talk and just, if this could come together. I would actually maybe put this into human rights, all of it, but
Значит, суть резолюции в том, что мы обнаружили очень много файлов. Я просто вкратце расскажу ситуацию, которая была в Грузии. Да, я очень кратко расскажу то, что произошло, почему мы решили, что хорошо сделать эту резолюцию. И можно, конечно, продолжить еще это движение. Мы обнаружили, что в Грузии довольно-таки долго шла слежка за активными людьми, за активистами, я говорю о политической оппозиции, о церковных служителях, в том числе про медиа и так далее. И в архивах МВД, то есть внутренних дел, у нас объединены эти два divisions, находится сейчас около 26 тысяч файлов, секретных файлов. Из них одна часть была про их личную, интимную жизнь, сексуальную жизнь. И после долгих дебатов мы добились, чтобы уничтожили эти файлы публично. Создалась комиссия, в которой входят представители власти и гражданского общества, в том числе я один из членов этой комиссии. И после этого еще разработали ряд законопроектов, внесли в парламент, потому что оказалось, что когда мы провели мониторинг законодательства, то очень плохие законы, никто не обращал на это, к сожалению, внимания. И оказалось, что очень много стандартов, которые есть в Евросоюзе, разные резолюции, решения и так далее, судебная практика, наше законодательство не соответствовало. Ну, мы еще что-то добавили, чтобы еще усилить гражданский, судебный, парламентский контроль и так далее над секретными службами, потому что сегодня в Грузии система такая же, как была раньше. То есть, если не изменить структуру, систему, то эта ситуация будет продолжаться. Еще одно, это сегодня такой тренд в других странах в том числе. Я уверен, что и в странах вот нашего форума, я уверен, что такая же будет ситуация. Хорошо было бы, если мы примем эту резолюцию одно. И другое, может быть, пойдем дальше, начнем мониторинг законодательства и конкретные практики, которые существуют в наших странах. Потому что невозможно строить демократию, если есть полиция, секретная так называемая полиция, которая абсолютно бесконтрольна. Она что хочет, то делает. И нет политической конкуренции, нарушаются права человека, нет экономической, то есть мы нашли ситуации даже такие, когда они в личных целях проводили вот эти слежки, и потому что у них были интересы в бизнесах и так далее. И сейчас мы делаем narrative report. Почему это происходило? Что за явление? Это постсоветское, не постсоветское? В каких странах такие ситуации? И можно вместе продолжить вот это движение вперед. Можно создать комиссию, можно обмениваться мнениями, опытом. И очень энергично сделать какие-то шаги вперед. Вот то, что я хотел вам сказать. Большое спасибо.
Thank you very much. And this is an area actually where where we could cooperate with the European Parliament, I think they will be quite interested. And they've already taken a position on some of these issues, and can bring in the American stuff where they're listening to us, where they are listening. The Americans are listening to us as well. I mean, it's actually quite interesting the way your police have said that they will open the files and they will destroy the files. But when you say, well, let's destroy them, say, well, no, some of them might be useful, maybe not that one. The police like to have files on people, and this is something that has to be stopped. Anna you will talk about how we will do this. I suspect we don't need more subgroups. We need people in the human rights subgroup. I think this is a human rights issue. Security is a human rights issue, unless Mika and you get together. But I think that we should concentrate our efforts rather than dispel them. So thank you very much. Anna has joined us. Anna is a brilliant election observer, and he has a lot of work in Azerbaijan. So just very briefly, he would just tell us about the problems he's facing.
Thank you very much. And first of all, I would like to say that this year, first working group, was very active on promotion of human rights and democracy in Eastern Partnership countries, and several times there were developed a resolution on violation of freedom of association, freedom of assembly in pre-election and post-election period in Eastern Partnership countries. And regarding Azerbaijan election, and today and before yesterday, we also initiated, just includes some remarks about our concerning on upcoming presidential election in Azerbaijan. There are some problem. Yesterday we talked about more widely, but again I can repeat that we have some expectations that during the election period there will be no political harassment, no any arrests, because we have enough political prisoners in Azerbaijan. So we will follow this process, and we will in touch with new steering committee in this process.
Thank you very much. Maybe I'd like to ask Antonella maybe first of all to tell us about her resolution, but also tell us about this public administration reform problem that we have.
Thank you, Christoph. I will also leave later Volodymyr, a member of our group from Ukraine, to comment on the issue of whether the subgroup worked and why it somehow worked more on fiscal decentralization. What I would suggest to do is just to go through the resolution that we are proposing for this afternoon. First of all, I would like to really thank the members of the subgroup on local government and public administration reform. It has been really a very stimulating work together with them. It's about 25 organizations from Europe and from the EU and from the partnership countries, and I would like to invite the new participants in this working group 1, if they are interested in the matter, local government development and public administration reform, to join us this afternoon in the subgroup. The resolution that we agreed for the subgroup is indeed to support this issue of fiscal decentralization. It has been a long exercise of making priorities as far as decentralization is concerned. There are many things that has to be put in place, but we decided to focus on one single proposal to be more assertive. And this fiscal decentralization, I know it doesn't represent it all, but it's a very important process, and it has been also agreed as a priority by the Committee of the Region, which is also putting this priority in front of Vilnius Summit. So this way we are creating the synergies between our work and their work, and potentially reaching together some results. I also accepted the comment of Christoph that requested us to bring together also the issue of fighting corruption, so that better attention on this at the local level should be done, because we are not decentralizing not only the money but also the corruption altogether. The second point is important. We are also supporting a flagship initiative on municipal development and delivery of public services. Once again, this is not only our proposal, this is a proposal which is coming up within the EEAS and within the European Commission. There is an initial proposal for this kind of flagship initiative, and since we are very much interested in this, we would like to make it clear that our subgroup and potentially the working group 1 is supporting that. We are supporting territorial and multi-stakeholders developments, including local governance at the local level. And the others are also well known. The implementation of the European Charter on Local Self-Government, with a particular attention in Belarus and Azerbaijan. Belarus did not ratify the Charter, and Azerbaijan had a very negative monitoring process last year on this. There are some also points introduced by David Tumayan from Armenia, which reminded us the ratification on the additional protocol to the European Charter of Local Self-Government on the right to participate in the affairs of local authorities, therefore introducing the possibilities of citizens' participation. And we are urging the possibility to have pilot initiatives on territorial cooperation, engaging local, regional authorities and civil society. We support the strengthening of the Public Service Civil Service Institute and the public administration structural reforms. So I would like to invite you all to the subgroup, all those who are interested and willing to work with us. Thank you.
Could you just briefly explain what municipal development is? Because I don't know. Is that making towns bigger, or what does it mean actually?
Municipal development, as we intended it, is indeed to create autonomy of the local authorities and giving them no, it's not making towns bigger. It means to have an approach to development which gives a role to municipality to be actor in this, and to have it includes also regional development as a concept. And mainly to think of development not only from the big macroeconomic national perspective, but from the municipal perspective too.
And also this business of the public administration reform, maybe we could have two groups. We could have a local government group and a public administration reform.
Yeah, I knew you would have said that, and I don't like that very much. I prefer to have one single group, maybe with divided sets of competencies within our group, because we feel that this is very much interlinked. I also agree we could do more on that, but I would not split into group, because otherwise you need a minimum group of people to work well, otherwise it becomes too small. I would suggest that.
Я хотел бы, Владимир Купри, Украинская национальная платформа, хотел бы дополнить и Антонеллу, и по поводу того, что Кшиштоф предлагает. Мне кажется, нет необходимости делать дополнительные тематические какие-то группы, потому что Public Administration Reform это включает большой комплекс вопросов. Просто более ярко на протяжении последнего времени у нас были вопросы в центре внимания, касаемые фискальной децентрализации. Но никто не снимал с повестки дня нашей работы вопросы муниципального развития, реформы местного самоуправления, механизмы местной демократии. Украинская национальная платформа вообще решила следующий год усиленное внимание уделять механизмам местной демократии, этим вопросам. И вот уже было предложение о том, чтобы продвигать усиленно ратификацию дополнительного протокола, касаемого участия в решении местных вопросов. Поэтому группа по Public Administration Reform, она держит в поле своего внимания широкий спектр. И мы никогда не отказывались от тех вопросов, о которых говорит Кшиштоф. Поэтому предложение не разбивать. Возможно, тот, кто имеет более узкий интерес к этим темам, просто присоединиться к группе и активизировать эту работу, и только лишь всего.
Okay, that's clear. But it just, public administration reform is important and more needs to be done. I think, is there anyone else who wants to speak? Otherwise, yes, please, come here.
Hello, my name is Monika Taran. I'm representing the German Foundation of West Eastern Encounters, and I'm here with two people representing NGOs from working with people with disability. And we know that this question is a very important one, not only in Germany but also in the Eastern Partnership countries. And it is a basic human right, and we want to propose this group to take off the subject of disability and of the disability in connection with the UN Right Convention on People with Disability. And we ourselves, as a foundation, we have project for the time being between Russia and Germany dealing with the introduction of disability and supporting the administration and public opinion and NGOs to work together to realize this subject. So it is a good example to show how cooperation could be. And I would like to propose to take off this subject in this working group. And we even wanted to launch a small resolution to the Eastern Partnership Forum to deal with the question of disability in any future, because disability is a very important human right, which is heavily, which is not realized in full as it is necessary, of course. And being in Moldova, we have visited different NGOs here and saw the situation, how it is, and we would really propose to take the subject off.
Okay, this is a very good idea. My problem is, and I think Boris, you will agree with me, that this is maybe for Working Group 4, actually. Disability. We have a problem with age. I'm very interested in the age issue, and in Working Group 4 no one cares about age. So disability 5 or 5. Would you want to speak about this? Would you say something? Because I don't think this is for our group, actually, to be honest. It's very important.
Okay, we were thinking in which group to go with the subject, and when I made my application as a participant, I choose the group number 1 because there the term of human rights is named. Group 5, I found social dialogue. I also thought, okay, social dialogue, but then I read that it is only that there will be dealt with only trade union questions. And group 4, it's youth. 2 years ago I was in the youth and human rights, but it is a question concerning all groups. But of course we can go in another group, but we should take it.
Yes, probably we have to explain the whole context. Initially, all types of human rights, including social rights, were in the Working Group 1. But when we were forming Working Group 5, a new one, there was a preliminary decision, and that is why it was voted for the Working Group 5, if social rights go there together with social dialogue. Just in the formulation of the name of the group, this was not reflected, and this raised certain confusion during the whole year. Many NGOs that are dealing with social rights went to Working Group 5, but their issues were not in the agenda. So these issues were lost. They were neither in the Working Group 1 nor in the Working Group 5. That is why before the forum, the name of the group was changed by the steering committee, and it is now Social Dialogue, Labor and Social Rights. And that is why, for instance, from many national platforms, the delegates who are dealing with social rights, including disability, they are in the Working Group 5. Still, there is a confusion. Now there is a big problem in the Working Group 5, because many people from Working Group 1, 2, 4 went there to vote, which is against our procedures. People who are registered for a specific group have right to be nominated and vote only in the group where they are registered. So that is why for you, a solution that I could suggest would be still formally being in the Working Group 1 as you registered, but if you want to raise certain issues related with disabilities and these kind of things, you have to go there. Although I understand that this is a confusion, this is a problem which appeared because we had only one coordinator in the Working Group 5. The second coordinator from Eastern Partnership countries also went to help Georgian government very quickly after his election. And the only coordinator was representing European Economic and Social Committee, and of course tried to focus only on these issues which was against the decisions of the forum and against the orientation of the steering committee. That's the problem which you have to know. And
I suggest you stay with us today, and then we could transfer you to Working Group 5 for a fee, of course. I don't know how much they would give us, but
Recommendations, I hope, yeah.
yeah, of course, absolutely.
And according to our procedures, during a year after the forum, you have the right to move to the Working Group 5 if hopefully the problems there will be resolved. Okay. Yeah. Just during this forum you cannot do that.
Okay, when we will make then this transformation to the other group, because the subject is really very important and it needs support.
Just do it today, but stay with us because we. Gintas Morkas. Right. Okay, now we have lots of hands now. So Vlad Valichka. And you, please.
My name is Vlad Velichka. I'm from Consortium Euro-Belarus, but also chairman of the coordination committee of the National Platform in Belarus. And I just would like to refer to this particular case, because this is important. Also, how we classify some of the things, like is it social rights or human rights? Because in the interpretation what you presented is very much about human rights, focus on the people with disabilities, and in our platform we even have a kind of a division between the organizations who are working with disability, with this group of people. Some of them self-identify themselves as a human rights organizations and see this aspect as a human rights aspect, and some of them are seen as a kind of a social right. So I think it should be left for self-identification of organizations to decide in which particular focus they would like to work with this issue, and then it should be very clearly articulated in which particular focus it is proposed. So from this perspective, for example, Krzysztof, you mentioned the gender issue as a lacking point. It will be as well seen from both perspectives like that. So we should be very careful if this initiative is coming, so we should be attentive not just to send it to Working Group 4 because it's about people with disabilities, but about in which particular problem it raises. Thank you.
You wanted to speak? No, you didn't. Okay, there's a lady at
Discrimination.
There's a lady at the back. You have to come.
The issue of support that is there.
Добрый день, я Юлия Тищенко, Украинский независимый центр политических исследований, Киев, украинская первая группа. Я бы хотела проинформировать уважаемых коллег, уважаемых участников о такой, это даже не резолюция, это скорее информация к размышлению. Это по большому счету один из первых случаев, когда, если вы помните, в Стокгольме мы принимали одну из резолюций, где обращали внимание и форума, и делегатов форума к проблеме закона про всеукраинский референдум. Вот в тем рискам, которые он несет и для Украины, и для евроинтеграционных перспектив. В принципе, мы видим развитие этого сценария. Я хотела бы проинформировать, что ряд украинских организаций, это более 20 организаций, развивают подобного рода инициативу, и сейчас уже вместе с политиками мы занимаемся над изменением этого закона и тех возможных достаточно негативных сценариев и для демократического развития в Украине, которые бы смогли снивелировать все негативное значение подобной инициативы. То есть вот информацию об этом мы переслали нашему Кшиштофу и региональным координаторам. Вот, и я надеюсь, что вы примете это к вниманию. Спасибо.
Okay, thank you. I don't know. Does anyone? Do you want to talk about the disability thing? No. All right. So we're just finished.
Yeah. Okay, then I understood that after this working group meeting, we will deal with transformation to the other group. And but I should say that we do not mean only dealing with questions of people with disability, but with the question of inclusion, and it is as well a human right and as well a social question. And then I wanted to say another remark concerning public administration reform. How do you think about thinking of the twinning of towns? Because our foundation is very engaged in town twinning processes, and I know that exactly between two twin towns there is a good possibility to organize and to develop exchange of experience in the reformation of administration.
That's an issue for Antonella, twinning. I'm a great fan of twinning. Really. Antonella, briefly, just quickly.
Just a question. Just a question of procedure, Christoph. So, some of us presented some resolutions. We send them to you. When do we approve them, and who is approving them? The working group here this afternoon? How does that work?
Your resolution on the local government thing will be approved by the forum because it asks the forum to take this on as a priority issue. Your resolution, the other resolution about forming the EU platform will also be taken by the forum because this is a forum level issue.
Thank you very much. Mr. Moderator, I have two issues to bring. It regards the future work of this group. Is this right time for this, or you give me? Okay, so issue number one, I believe all of you heard about the Policy Forum for Development, which is a continuation of a structured dialogue driven by EU. It was the quadrilogue format process, 2-year process. So, structured dialogue ended in Budapest, and it continues now in the form of Policy Forum for Development. And Eastern Partnership was allocated one seat to attend and to engage in Policy Forum for Development, and they expect us to fill this seat. We need to somehow decide this issue. So that's one. The other issue I'd like to bring your attention is actually I have a proposal to establish the subgroup on development effectiveness, because when I read the strategy and there are a lot of challenges which require our attention. Challenge number one is a shrinking space for civil society. The many researchers show that the space is shrinking, space for policy dialogue is shrinking, the legal environment is not improving, vice versa. There are also issues of development. Most of you know that Accra Agenda for Action recognized CSOs as actors for development, and later on in Busan that was reaffirmed. So, and I'm very much involved in these processes. Just 1 second. So, and the Eastern Partnership is underrepresented in these processes, and these are the very important issues. So, my proposal would be to establish the subgroup in this group. Thank you.
I'm looking at Boris whether this is, but my feeling is that the subgroup for development should be in the working group too. actually. And we do need a subgroup for development, and someone else has mentioned this to me. The shrinking space for civil society, I think, is something for the steering committee, to be honest. That's something that the steering committee should be dealing with every day. It's not, if it's a process, if it's happening, then the steering committee should be reacting to it. So I don't think it's for a working group here. The development working group, I don't know, what do you think? I'm speaking.
Probably additional explanations are required. From the very beginning, in the forum, the subgroups were viewed as possibility also for cross-group cooperation. So there could be subgroups where we have representatives from different working groups. For instance, there was an idea of monitoring subgroup, which could include those organizations interested in monitoring in different areas. So, on the other hand, the process of formation of subgroup is autonomous process. And informally, there is a decision. If there are 10 delegates of the forum who are interested to form permanent or temporary subgroup, they are allowed to do that. So if you collect 10 signatures under your initiative, it will be just taken as it is. Okay? And you can also, if you consider that you need people from other subgroups, you can promote this idea among other working groups, you can promote this idea there as well. Okay, that's okay.
You go to the policy forum to represent us. Okay, all right. If there's no one else who wants to speak, I just want to for my own purposes, could I just ask the people who are interested in the human rights subgroup just to put up their hands? Human rights subgroup. 1, 2, right, 3. So you see. Election monitoring. 2, 3, 4. Right. Visa facilitation. 5. 1, 2, 3. No, that's 2.5, 3. Great. What about regional security and competence building? This is the Michal initiative. 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a good one. And then there is. Well done, Michal. And then there is. We have media monitoring. There's media. Only one. I always suspected you were a one-man band, actually, boys, that you didn't have a group. You just fight against corruption. Okay. 4, 5. Public administration. Well, this is local government and public administration. Well, that's quite a lot. Judiciary reform. Oh. Okay, good. Well done. So the judiciary reform group comes back to life. It's a miracle. But the human rights, I don't know, what do we do about the human rights group? It's just 3 people. It used to be enormous. Human rights. Oh, it's better. It's getting better. Okay, it's backing up. All right, good. So that's just for us to see how many of us there are. Look, I think we can stop there now because we've run out of time. We have to move to elections now. What? You can't hear me? I wanted to move to elections now. Okay? Do we have our assessors? Oh, they disappeared. Do we have our assessors? Do we have them? Okay. Have you got a board? Have you got something to write the names on? Well, come and tell us what you want us to do, because I'm lost on this.
You should, you should nominate first, you should have nomination for two coordinators, one from the Eastern Partnership countries, one from the EU. Then the name of the coordinators will be on the screen with a number, and you will receive a ballot. You'll sign under your name to receive the ballot, and then you should select two people, one from the list of the EU coordinators and one from the list of Eastern Partnership coordinators. That's very simple. You just circling the number, and please also write the, in order to avoid confusions, write the last name of the person near the number you have circled. That's it. Yeah. Now you should start discussing about the candidates. You will receive one candidate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You're a candidate. You're not a candidate. You sent a letter, yeah. So maybe we could have your name. The problem is that you are on the Georgian list. You are on the Georgian list. You are formally you are from Georgia.
I am from Georgia.
Yeah. Where are you from?
I'm representing the 100th birthday.
Yeah. Okay.
So you are nominated as new coordinator for the EU? Yes. I am not in the list at all. It's a question to the secretary.
You're not on the list at all.
Why I'm not on the list? Can you select it as delegate? What do you mean about Georgia?
I thought you were from Georgia. I don't know why. There's nothing wrong with being from Georgia. So, people do come from Georgia. People live in Georgia. They live and work and even die in Georgia. All right. So you are nominated for the EU coordinator.
Nobody else?
No, wait. Okay. I think that Jeff Lovett is also nominated. Where is Jeff? Yeah, Jeff, you're nominated. Could you ask your neighbor to nominate you? Ask him to nominate you. Yeah, I know, but it would be nice to get you nominated by someone else. Okay, Jan Piekło nominates you. So Jeff Lovett for the EU.
I would need someone to show me the names in order to write them properly. Yeah, if you can help with that.
Do we have any other candidates? Remember, this is hard work. Who?
Let me just go on. I wanted this nominate from Eastern Partnership countries, from Azerbaijan, for first group coordinator, Leyla Aliyeva, who was yesterday here as one of our panelists. She's a very responsible person and very smart on democracy and human rights issues. I think that she also knows the region, Eastern Partnership countries, Ukraine, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Armenia. So, Leyla Aliyeva.
Yeah. And she's a woman, which is good for gender balance. There's a hand which is going up. No, it was just scratching its head. So we need, actually, that's 3. Leyla, for the EaP. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to close the nominations in a minute. What? Sorry.
Are we also nominating now the EaP candidates as well? So then I would like also to announce the nomination that the Belarusian National Platform also was discussing, and also, so we would like to review to, okay, so you want me? Okay, Piotr Kuznetsov from Gomel Democratic Forum.
So tell them. Now, I'd like to ask you to come to this woman here, and she will give you your ballot paper, and she will check if you're on the list. So you will only get the ballot paper if you're on the list. So if you just like to form a queue, like in airports, you know, you stand and wait for... Go back. Come on, get your ballot papers.
The Civil Society Forum, and which contains certain suggestions about changing the structure of the forum, creating new bodies, and so on. As we understand from reaction of our delegates, the main issue that raises really disputes and controversial opinions is the issue of the format of the Civil Society Forum, and also the issue what specifically those three EU coordinators who are part of the steering committee are doing. What is their function, what is their mission within the steering committee. There was a discussion during several months in the steering committee and also in a special strategy group meeting that took place in September this year, and the outcome of that discussion was to suggest that we reduce number of the members of the steering committee from 19 to 16, and this reduction takes place on expense of 3 EU coordinators. The main reason for that was that if In other cases, the steering committee members have very clear function and mission. They are either coordinators of the national platforms or they are coordinators of the working group. With these three EU coordinators was not quite clear what they are coordinating, because there were initial ideas about forming some kind of EU platform, but it did not happen. And now we have a suggestion from a group of our delegates who are again coming back to this idea about formation of EU platform within the civil society forum, and then it will be more or less clear what is the responsibility of three EU coordinators who are members of the steering committee. So this is the main context. With other parts of the draft resolution suggested for your attention, at least I do not know that there are any controversies, but if there are, you are free to raise them. So now we open the discussion. Please, Kirill, you have your comment or whatever. If it's working. No. I'll come down.
Thank you. I would like to say a couple of words about this idea and resolution to reduce the number of EU representatives. It's not true that, as it's written in this resolution, that the interest of EU representatives or EU countries on civil society forum is decreasing. In the paper, there's a number. It was, I think, 87 applications of EU representatives to take part on this forum. It's a bigger number than in last year. We have selected participants of the EU countries, about 50 people. We have had first election in working groups, and as I know, in working groups number 4, there were 4 candidates for the EU position, for only one position. That means it's really not true that the interest of EU representatives and EU country at all is decreasing. I think it's an opposite, it's increasing, and so it's not really logical step to decrease the number, to reduce the number of EU representatives. The second point, in this resolution, there is some argumentation in this way that this 3 position of EU representative should be substituted by advisory board and by advocacy officer in the secretariat. Me personally, it's nothing against the idea of advisory board, but it's not a substitution. It's a good idea to establish the advisory board for lobbying our initiatives and civil society forum as a whole, but it's not the substitution for 3 elected people, because the composition of the civil society forum should be some kind of balance between interests of EaP countries and EU countries, because the initial idea of the civil society forum is a meeting place for civil societies from EU side and from the side of the 6 EaP countries. And so we have 5 working groups with co-chairs for EU countries and EaP countries, and we have 6 national platforms with 6 coordinators of each of EaP countries. And we have only 3 position of EU representatives to balance the 6 people from EU countries. And is it okay so? I see no legitimation and no good argument to make this step. And my last point is, we know about the new idea of the new strategy. We have a draft strategy in our papers. It's really good step to think about new strategy, but the strategy will not adopted by this meeting. It will be adopted maybe next time in Georgia. And the steering committee are picking out only this small idea about cancelling on three positions of EU coordinators from the whole strategy. Not complete strategy, but still strategy. And so we will have a gap for 1 year if we adopt this resolution. It means we will have less position for EU representatives in steering committee, but we will have no advisory group, because advisory group will be established only after adoption of new strategy, and new strategy will not adopted this time. We will have also no advocacy officer in the secretariat, because it's also the part of new strategy, and new strategy will be adopted next year in Georgia. That's why I ask you not to vote to this resolution, because it's really very unlogical. Thank you.
Jeff, please.
Thanks very much. I do agree with Kirill on the advisory board should not be seen as a replacement for the 3 EU coordinators. But where I disagree is that the 3 EU coordinators, which are elected by the whole forum, are equivalent to national platform coordinators. There is nobody from the Eastern Partnership country elected by the whole forum. In addition, on a quick count, for me the efficiency argument is very important. A 19-member steering committee is unwieldy. You could either remove one of each working group coordinators, have one coordinator instead of 2, and we'll see who would be elected. Partnership or EU representatives. I think it's much cleaner to take away the 3 EU coordinators, although I wouldn't object to the other approach. But just numbers. I calculate it would probably save 12 to 15,000 euros a year, 3 fewer steering committee members travelling to 5 steering committee meetings. That could fund subgroup meetings, all sorts of things. So I think it's about efficiency. It's not just about saving money, of course, but the practicality of working meetings. And if we had 8 EU representatives who were really hard-working and committed, that would be different. My experience is it doesn't work like that. Very often people are not doing the work, and I think what we want is very, very energetic, committed people, and that it's not about the numbers. A few who are really hard-working and effective is more important than having 19 steering committee members.
Thank you. Antonella, as initiator of another draft resolution.
Yes, thank you. So, indeed, I'll take the floor because I connect this issue of the 3 EU coordinator to another proposal. I think that the starting point is not to decrease the EU presence in the steering committee and in the whole forum. I also disagree with the fact that there is less interest from the civil society side in Europe, in the EU, for the Eastern Partnership. We signed this resolution together with Diogo Pinto from the European Movement International, and we see more and more organization in Europe with partners and members in the Eastern Partnership countries. The fact that they not cross the civil society forum, this is another story. It means that there is no possibility to create more linkage and awareness. So I'm against decreasing the possibilities of EU participants in the civil society forum. So if we decide that, following your proposal, to decrease these 3 EU coordinators because they don't have a mandate, because they don't know what to do, because today we have the secretariat and maybe an advisory board, or we need to create in any case something else. So my proposal, and I do link it with this issue, is that we should establish an EU platform to give coherence to the work of the EU participants. And my proposal is to keep the 3 EU coordinators this year as it is, to prepare the ground for the EU platform.
Thank you. No, first those who will speak first time. In the third row, please. No. First you. Yes. Sorry, I don't know your name.
I will speak Russian. Хорошо. Меня зовут Антон Лепик, я представляю Всеевропейский совет, Международную конфедерацию профсоюзов. Когда форум создавался, он, в общем-то, был идеей как организации гражданского общества из стран Евросоюза и стран Восточного партнерства, чтобы они могли вместе обмениваться. Сейчас то, что мы видим действительно и с урезанием числа координаторов, и, в общем-то, с тем, как форум организован сам по себе, с тем, что возможности участия и финансирования участия организаций из стран Европы ограничены, мы видим, что это вещь, что форум превращается в какую-то вещь сам в себе, замкнутую. Мы обсуждаем только вопросы конкретных стран, ситуации конкретных стран. Мы не обсуждаем возможности партнерства. И я думаю, что если будет урезано количество участников от Европейского Союза в руководящей группе, то эта тенденция будет только усугубляться. Поэтому я лично, и я не знаю, как мои профсоюзные коллеги тоже, я думаю, меня поддержат, мы против того, чтобы сокращать количество представителей от Европейского Союза. Спасибо.
Now, someone from there was raising hands. No, first someone from there. Nobody else? So you came here. Okay. Андрей Егоров.
Я также против сокращения количества координаторов от ЕС по нескольким причинам. То есть первая причина – это то, что, в общем-то, действительно мы должны сохранить какой-то баланс между представительством Восточного партнерства и стран Европейского Союза. С другой стороны, мне не кажется, что сокращение координационного комитета на 3 человека как-то повысит его работоспособность. То есть, если бы это сокращение было, ну не знаю, там, наполовину или на 2/3, это, наверное, бы повысило работоспособность. Но здесь это далеко не является решением проблемы. Ну, а кроме того, вот такого рода вопросы переструктурирования, которые касаются управляющих органов или представления новых стратегий, создания дополнительных советов для форума, они могут и должны обсуждаться с национальными платформами все-таки предварительно, потому что здесь мы не представляем даже разнообразие национальных платформ, и все-таки для соблюдения принципа демократического представительства, особенно там, где национальные платформы достаточно сильные, мы бы хотели иметь предварительную возможность обсуждения стратегических вопросов развития форума. Поэтому я не думаю, что сейчас время решать этот вопрос. Спасибо.
Спасибо. No, it depends, of course. For instance, in Armenia we managed to discuss this strategy, but of course the time was quite short. Please, yeah, and then Kirill.
Thank you very much. My name is Monika Taran from the German Foundation of West Eastern Encounters. We deal with partnerships between countries of the European Union, especially Germany, and countries in Eastern Europe. And I would very strongly propose and support the proposal of Antoinetta to form a European platform, because I myself participate for the second time in this forum, and I do not know which status I have. Every year I have to apply for participation, and I do not know whether I will be accepted or not. and I think it would be very much strengthen the cooperation and real partnership between civil society in Western Europe and Eastern Europe. And therefore, I very much hope, and I would like to propose, in connection with the European coordinators, to decide, Suvonia, really to take the decision to found a European platform where European countries, European NGOs can apply for membership and can become a status. And this will support the cooperation of civil society. I'm very convinced of it, and I hope that the plenum will support the idea. Thank you very much.
If I may ask you a question which was already raised in, let's say, non-formal circles about this initiative. What would be the agenda of this EU platform if it's platform, they will be meeting. So they will be meeting without Eastern Partnership colleagues. So what, according to your initiative, what could be the agenda of their discussions?
I think a European platform could be a multiplier in order to find ways to multiply contacts with the countries of Eastern Partnership to Western Europe. All our NGOs who are present here, they are cooperate with Eastern Partnership countries. And although we are discussing here very political questions, we are also people. And I think one very important task of this forum should be to really bring together NGOs and people from Eastern Partnership countries with Western Europe. And I am myself very happy. Yes, but not very concretely. We have to take it over to support the idea and to organize projects and to have an exchange between our two countries. And therefore, another point is to support the idea of this forum in our governments. I, for instance, know the German government may be not very interested in this forum. I don't know. It's my personal view as I understood it so far. And we decided among Germans at least to take some steps in order to speak with our foreign ministry, with our government, in order to convince them of the necessity to have such a forum. And therefore, I think it's important to have a platform at least. How it will work and what will arise from, this will be a question to decide together. But I think that it makes sense to have a platform.
Thank you. Kirill, then Stepan, then you. You don't want? Stepan, please. And then Chris.
Вы знаете, когда у человека болит голова, можно по-разному решать этот вопрос. Один самый простой вопрос – отрубить голову. Отрубил голову – никакой боли. Но второй механизм решения – ты лечишь. То есть мы когда говорим, что эти три эксперта там дают пользу или не дают, давайте подумаем, может быть, мы более активных экспертов пригласим, более заинтересованных экспертов пригласим. То есть механизм решения проблемы бывает разный. Теперь я, честно говоря, больше вышел из-за того, чтобы сказать следующее. Конечно, вовлеченность европейских экспертов очень для нас важна, европейских стран, поэтому сокращать не стоит. Но больше я вышел из-за замечания Джеффа Ловита. Я, честно говоря, очень удивился, когда там о каких-то 12 тысячах сказали и так далее, о каких-то суммах сказали. По-разному можно экономить. Можно вообще из 19 человек сделать 2 человека и так далее. То есть разным способом можно экономить. И поэтому это очень странный такой для меня был аргумент.
Thank you. Just a brief comment from my side or from inside. When in the draft resolution it is written that interest of organizations from EU is decreasing, it was based on following, let's say, facts. First, during the last forum, we had only 3 candidacies for the 3 positions of EU coordinators. So, in fact, there was no competition. And besides that, during all year, our platform was not, our steering committee was not, has not 19 members. We did not have from the very beginning a coordinator from EU side in the working group too, just because there was no candidate. So I mean that even those possibilities that are provided for EU-based organizations to be engaged in the work of steering committee, even those possibilities are not fully used. So indeed I would support the idea of Stepan. Maybe we can start thinking, if we are keeping these positions, what for, how we can raise the interest and how we can raise the efficiency of their membership in the steering committee. So if there are such ideas, I would welcome them to be announced here. Yaroslav, then Ivan, and Vlad. We forgot. Now you.
Добрый день всем. Меня зовут Ярослав Бекиш. До вчерашнего дня я был координатором Белорусской национальной платформы, поэтому я хочу обратить ваше внимание на заявление Белорусской национальной платформы, которое было подано по этому поводу. Правда, подписано не всей платформой, у нас не было у всех времени собраться для того, чтобы обсудить этот момент. Ситуация состоит в следующем. Во-первых, заинтересованность европейских организаций в деятельности форума. В прошлом году у нас не было кандидатов в рабочей группе 3, и только благодаря тому, что к нам пришла Кристина и проявила свой интерес, у нас все-таки было больше, чем один координатор. В этом году только что проходили выборы благодаря тому, что целый год мы работали над тем, чтобы пригласить наших партнеров. У нас был конкурс 4 человека на место среди европейских координаторов. Я думаю, что нам надо работать над тем, чтобы заинтересовывать европейских партнеров, и тогда у нас будет ответ на вопрос, куда их включить, какова может быть их повестка. Но это пока что только косвенный аргумент в пользу того, чтобы не сокращать количество членов steering committee. На самом деле я сейчас не выступаю ни за одно, ни за второе решение. Я хочу предложить третье, мне кажется, альтернативное. Если вы обратили внимание, от управляющего комитета поступило 2 предложения. Точнее, 2 типа предложений. Первый тип предложений – изменения по стратегии деятельности форума. Были предложены новые формулировки вплоть до миссии и целей, ну и, конечно, по механизмам ее реализации. Один тип предложений стратегический. Второй тип предложений касается структуры. Структуры управляющего комитета, структуры секретариата. Сейчас, сегодня, на обсуждении находится вопрос по структуре. Вопрос, хорошо было бы спросить, конечно, куда делся вопрос по стратегии. Так вот, учитывая тот факт, что национальные платформы действительно должны были иметь возможность внутри себя обсудить эти предложения и тогда уже консолидированно вынести какие-то свои решения, было решено, что на конференции, которая будет проходить параллельно саммиту Восточного партнерства в Вильнюсе через, если я не ошибаюсь, 6 недель, соберутся составы нынешнего управляющего комитета, я имею в виду вчерашнего и сегодняшнего, и смогут уже к этому времени, обсудив со своими национальными платформами, говорить от имени национальных платформ, какие решения принимать стратегические, какие нет. Моя точка зрения сейчас, видя вот эту вот дискуссию, которая сложилась последние 15 минут, состоит в следующем. Мы не можем принять адекватное решение, правильное либо неправильное, адекватное решение по структуре, не приняв решение по содержанию. Сначала надо договориться, что у нас будет со стратегией, и, исходя из стратегических целей и индикаторов, решать, что нам для этого нужно с точки зрения структуры. Но в таком случае очень бы не хотелось затягивать это решение до следующего форума ежегодного. В таком случае нам надо, если это будет принято как предложение, договориться о том, что мы наделяем специальным мандатом представителей управляющего комитета на то, чтобы они в течение следующих 1,5 месяцев провели консультации с 6 национальными платформами. И на встрече в Вильнюсе уже имели мнение по обоим, и по стратегическому, и по структурному вопросу, и там уже полностью полномочить их прийти к окончательному решению. А другого пути, как сейчас об этом договориться, я лично не вижу. Спасибо.
Спасибо.
Это еще не для меня. Маркиян Жиляк, Центр европейского сотрудничества, Польша. Я хочу сказать о плоскости, о которой мы сегодня еще не говорили. 1,5 месяца перед саммитом в Вильнюсе. Какой сигнал мы можем выслать в мир, если мы сейчас сократим 3 европейских координаторов? Вы можете представить себе газеты некоторых стран в понедельник? Саммит решил удалить европейских координаторов. Не сейчас. Я считаю, что надо идти путем создания европейской платформы, которая будет предлагать координаторов и стратегии. Спасибо.
Иван.
После этого выступления очень трудно что-то добавить. Я хочу только напомнить нам всем, что наш форум называется гражданский форум Восточного партнерства. Партнерство, пожалуйста, понимайте это, что это не форум стран Восточного соседства. Это форум нас общий, вас из партнерских стран и нас из Европы. В вашем интересе было бы не сокращать число представителей из Европы, но требовать, чтобы нас было 28, потому что 28 стран. Это, конечно, невозможно. Поэтому 3 представителя, я думаю, это самая минимальная возможность. Если они активны или нет, это трудно нам оценивать. Поэтому мы предлагаем создать европейскую платформу, чтобы она была ответственна за их работу. Поэтому я думаю, что это, конечно, вопрос, который это лишнее занимает наше внимание, потому что это в нашем общем интересе, чтобы Европейский Союз был больше, гражданское общество Европейского Союза было больше вовлечено в дела этого форума. И я согласен, что касается стратегии. Я был тоже один из основоположников этого форума. Мы о необходимости иметь стратегию говорим с самого начала. Это действительно слабый пункт, что у нас стратегии нету. Поэтому давайте как можно быстрее вырабатываем стратегию, одобряем ее и будем ей руководиться.
Влад.
Меня зовут Влад Величко, я председатель Координационного комитета Белорусской национальной платформы и провел, в общем, с рядом коллег, которые здесь присутствуют, вместе с Борисом и многими другими 2 года в первом составе управляющего комитета. И я бы сказал так, из опыта было совершенно очевидно, что та часть представителей в руководящем комитете, которые представляли координаторов от ЕС, была очень важной и очень активной частью стиринг-комитета. Поэтому, когда мы обсуждаем вопрос состава стиринг-комитета, его работоспособность и так далее, я бы обсуждал в первую очередь не количество участников, а качество людей, которых мы туда выбираем. И тогда у нас будут сниматься в том числе и проблемы с эффективностью деятельности. Поэтому мне кажется, что это просто будет контрпродуктивно такого рода предложение выдвигать. И на данный момент точно. Поэтому я думаю, что это в каком-то смысле даже может послужить катализатором оформления европейской национальной платформы, европейской платформы, которая для национальных платформ очень важна в диалоге вокруг восточного партнерства, потому что, как мне кажется, на сегодня слишком много зависит от стиринг-комитета и слишком мало участия в решении стратегических вопросов принимают национальные платформы и тематические группы. Этот баланс необходимо было бы выправить. И для этого нужны такого рода координаторы. Поэтому я бы предложил снять этот вопрос с голосования, просто его не ставить и не решать по нему ничего, потому что он, с моей точки зрения, не релевантен нашей ситуации.
Boris, thank you very much. I'd like to address three questions briefly. One is that when we had this idea of putting together an advisory board of well-known retired politicians and well-known people in Europe who would help the Civil Society Forum, and act as a kind of umbrella for us, we were aware of the fact that at the moment and up till now, we have had very, very strong support from the European Commission and from its present commissioner. Now, that commissioner will stop being the commissioner next year, and we don't know who we will get. We might get a commissioner who will be as strong as the present one. We might get a commissioner who will not take any interest at all, which means that, to put it bluntly, our funding may decrease. The idea of having people like, I spoke to Markus Meckel from Germany, who's very interested, Schwarzenberg, other politicians of this caliber who would like to help, would like to open doors for us, who would like to talk about fundraising. This is something that I think we thought we would need if hard times befall us. It doesn't change anything. It's just a plus. It's an additional factor. It doesn't change anything. The second issue of doing away with the 3 EU reps is an issue which came from the fact that maybe we thought we would save money, and we couldn't, and the people who were doing this job this year felt that they didn't have a role or a function, they didn't know what they were doing. And what we hoped that they will be doing, what we thought that they will be doing, is going around the member states and drumming up support for the Civil Society Forum and for the ideals of the Civil Society Forum. This hasn't been happening. Nevertheless, if you decide that this is terribly important to keep them, we can keep them. It won't change. It's a budgetary problem. It's maybe a problem of managing the meetings of the steering committee, but actually those can be managed. We could come down to 1 rep. We could have 3. It doesn't really matter. What we do need, because also we noticed that the people who were being elected to the steering committee were not really people from the member states. They were people who had member state nationality or status, but they were actually from the Eastern Partnership countries. So de facto, we were getting less and less people from the member states. The third, but here actually this isn't terribly controversial. We can keep the 3 if you like. We can keep 1. We can get rid of them. It's not the biggest of problems, because we do have 5 EU representatives from the member states working in the working groups. And the working groups are the places where we have the integration between the member state organizations and the Eastern Partnership country organizations. This is where the integration takes place. And here we should have 5 very strong people, but again here we were finding that people were being elected who weren't really from EU member states. So again, EU member states representatives were disappearing, and here I support the voice which say it's very important who we elect. The third idea of the EU group, a special group, seems to me to be very, very strange, because de facto what we will be doing is building a wall between the Eastern Partnership part of the partnership and the EU part of the partnership. This will be a separate group. And it will begin to be governed by its own interests and its own motivations. And if this is an organization which is about integration, about bringing people together from the Eastern Partnership countries and the member states, the idea that we should have a separate EU group, I really don't understand it. If people want to lobby for the Eastern Partnership, they can lobby. The Germans can go to their government and ask for more money. They don't need a special extra group. The only thing that this extra group will bring is 2 places in the steering committee. And I suspect that this is the point of suggesting the EU group. Because at the moment, the EU people can feel integrated, are integrated, they just have to come and work in the Eastern Partnership Civil Society Forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Vaz Salamadze, Civil Society Institute, Georgia. I'd like to say that I'm strongly against to restructure the CSF in this way. There are a lot of challenges in the forum. Some of them are mentioned in the strategic paper, and we need to address these challenges, but not in a way it is proposed. So I heard two justifications to cut three positions. One is money, it's not serious to me, and the other one is the low interest from this side. I believe that one of the key challenges of the forum is establishing the strong linkages with the other processes at the global level, at the regional and the sub-regional level. This might be the reason why there is a low interest in the forum. I personally participate in many different processes, and I can say that the forum is underrepresented in many processes. Take the structured dialogue, CSO Partnership for Development Effectiveness, communication with the neighborhood, especially with the South neighborhood. So this is the weakness of the forum. We need to address this issue. I apologize, Mr. Moderator, but I believe what I'm proposing is very important. Today, at the group number 1, I informed the group that at the Policy Forum for Development, there is allocated seat for Eastern Partnership. We have a seat at the Policy Forum for Development. I don't have much time to explain what this is. If you give me a chance, I will do that. But I urge you to fill this seat. I urge the forum to select the representative to the Policy Forum for Development. This is another EU-driven process, very important process. If we don't do this, if we don't take the steps to integrate the forum in different global processes and different regional processes, the interest will be low. As about, Mr. Moderator, again, I'm asking to bring this issue on the forum to decide to fill this seat by somebody, by anybody from steering committee, any other member, I don't know, but we need to make a decision. So that's very important. And the final point about the structure, I missed last 2 meetings. I was participant of first and second meetings of the forum. So I see a lot of challenges. I see that we need to restructure something. I see some drawbacks in election process, so on and so forth. But it should be done. My colleagues already mentioned that the steering committee shall address this issue, shall communicate it with the national platforms, get the agreement from the national platforms, bring the prepared issue to the forum for approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Since we have also a discussion on the working group, what happens there, and we don't have much time, I would suggest just one more intervention on this issue, and then we will try to follow our timetable, making, of course, conclusion on that discussion as well. Please, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Diogo Pinto. I come from the European Movement. I heard a lot of arguments that have to do with people, with individuals, and with what happened in the past. And I don't like to discuss on that basis. My main concern is the future and how we want to organize things, what we want to achieve. I think it's very important that we realize that the objective of the Eastern Partnership itself and the objective of the Civil Society Forum is indeed to allow for a wider integration of Europe. What we would like to see, most of us, is the 6 countries one day being fully integrated into the EU. I think that we need to realize also that the biggest threats for this to happen are not in Moscow or in attitudes like the ones of President Sargsyan. The biggest threat for this to happen is in the EU. It's about the lack of support among the citizens of the EU. It's the lack of support of some member states. It's the lack of support of increasing anti-European forces in the European Parliament. I think that we need to be strategic on the decisions we take. It might be true that not all the civil society organizations in the EU have an interest on this process, but it may be because of that. We need to be able to give the ones who have shown interest the possibility to work. Because at the end of the day, regardless of who is the commissioner, even if the commissioner is very interested in the process, he has only the capacity to make proposals. The decisions are taken by the European Parliament and are taken by the European Council. And you need the civil society organizations in the member states, indeed, but also at the European level to put the necessary pressure in the Council and in the Parliament for the decisions you want to be taken. And if we don't understand this, and I'm really sorry to say this, but if the previous EU coordinators didn't understand this, then I think that they were really bad coordinators because they didn't understand how the EU works. Now, what I also think is that if we want to do this, we need to do it together, because we don't want to impose anything on the other side. So I would urge you to take because we saw that there are some people in the EU civil society organizations that are willing to put the efforts into this. And Mr. Bobinski, just let me tell you two things about what you said. The fact that there is a EU platform, it won't create a separation, because the separation is already there. Most of the civil society organizations from the European Union who are not here have much bigger access to the European institutions than the ones who are here. The separation is already there. So let's take them on board. Let's put them on our side and not let them work parallelly to us. And the second comment was about what you said about the citizens of the Eastern Partnership countries that represent the EU. I mean, I think that's really a sad comment to make, because many of our organizations have been fighting very, very hard to make sure that the immigrants that decided to live in the EU are considered as full citizens. And making that kind of comment, I think it's very indignant of a civil society organization member.
I would like to allow myself a very responsible conclusion on that discussion, that we are not prepared to take any decision on any of the issues, any of the initiatives and suggestions that were expressed here. So probably the only solution would be to commission the newly elected steering committee. Immediately from the first meeting, starting discussing all this issue, developing strategies, developing suggestions about the structure of the forum, about additional bodies, and produce a respective document as soon as possible, distribute it to all delegates, to the national platforms, and collect opinions, collect comments, and then come up with also discuss probably in the meetings of the working groups, and then come up with very well formulated, well argumented, and well discussed suggestions to the next Tbilisi forum. Of course, any issue that is urgent is better to decide as soon as possible. But we should not make decisions that are not well prepared, despite all they are very important. If you agree with this general approach, we can follow with our agenda. Antonella has disagreement with me. Come up, come here.
No, I agree with you, Boris. We are not ready to this, and we put it in the hand of the future steering committee. But what I would like to hear is that this discussion will not only be dealt at the steering committee level, and then you mentioned the national platforms. So who will be involved? The EU? All delegates. Then it's in the records. Thank you.
Thank you. I said all delegates and working groups where everyone is represented. So if there is more or less consensus on that, let us move on other issues. But before that, I would like to urge our colleagues from EU countries then to prove us that they are interested to be in the steering committee and nominate more candidates and have healthy competition. This is for the next session. And now let us discuss the work in our working groups. I think we will need a very brief reports from each working group. Who is the most brave? Then in natural order. Working group 1. Krzysztof?
I'm sorry, but this is an enormous hall, and I'm still resolution of trying to work on that. The working group 1, which was in the past a great power with hundreds and hundreds of members, actually is beginning to look a bit weak and sort of threadbare. It's not as big as it was, and some of the subgroups, the human rights subgroups, reconstituted itself because we actually lost the coordinator. It's basically working group 1 will continue. It's very still interested in election issues. It's still very interested in media issues and freedom of media. Corruption has the anti-corruption group has raised its head. So basically, from a slow start, the working group 1 has raised its head and is beginning to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe, Chris, maybe there are questions? Are there any questions? No, you are free. Anything to add?
Yes, there's a question about the disability group. There's a suggestion that there should be a disability group, and someone has to take a decision whether the fight to counter disabilities is a human rights issue or a social issue. If it's a human rights issue, the group stays in working group 1. If it's not, it goes to working group 5. I think the inclination is from the people involved who want to stay in working group 1. We're also setting up a new group, thanks to Mikhail Rashvili, called Security and sort of Peacemaking, and this is really directed at the conflicts in the Eastern Partnership countries, the disputed territories, and that'll be a very important group. So that's two developments. Thank you very much.
Frankly speaking, I would not suggest to glue strictly any subgroup to any working group. I think the subgroups is the space which could be used for cross-group cooperation also. And if there are issues which could be addressed in different groups, these organizations or these delegates could come together in a subgroup, be it visa facilitation, which is working group 1, and working group 4 priority, be it media, which is also divided between working group 1 as an area where advocacy is needed, and working group 4 if it is the issue of improving communication among us. So the same for many other groups, so let us not fix what subgroup belongs to which working group. Let us try to organize agenda of our meetings so that people from different working groups could meet for specific interests, for specific areas which could be cross-group areas. Now working group 2, please. Gennady? Not here. Working group 3? Anna, Christina. Anna is not here. Gennady, please, about the work of the working group 2.
Добрый день, буду на русском языке, потому что язык, на котором мы общались с нашей рабочей группой. Мы обсудили начало все то, что мы смогли сделать в прошлом году. У нас были достижения, которые мы провели в рамках работы и самой группы. И те, скажем так, side projects, которые мы смогли реализовать в рамках нашей платформы, в рамках нашей рабочей группы номер 2. Это конференции, которые были посвящены и трансграничному сотрудничеству, и вопросам DCFTA, каким образом имеется влияние на социальную и экономическую базу. Также мы запланировали работу всех тех сабгрупп, которые у нас есть 6, созданы в рамках рабочей группы, где была необходимость переизбрали координаторов этих сабгрупп и отдельно остановились на возможности 2 проектов. Это участие наших членов в программе территориальной поддержки и восточного партнерства, которые есть по направлениям Грузия, Азербайджан, Грузия, Армения, Украина, Молдова, Украина, Беларусь, а также обсудив возможность, каким образом мы можем способствовать созданию некого такого моста между аналитическими центрами и бизнесом, в том контексте, что это есть необходимость и есть дальнейший вектор развития в этом направлении. Собственно говоря, время было очень мало, потому что нам не хватило его. В том, что мы проговорили. Особый акцент на развитие наших возможностей и нашей экспертизы, которая была бы общая для всех рабочих групп национальных платформ, с тем, чтобы мы могли работать с общими методологиями и с общим пониманием, как с методологиями мы должны работать. В целом, считаю большим достижением нашей рабочей группы, что у нас уже есть не 1 координатор, а 2 координатора. Немножко легче, я говорю о своих собственных вопросах. Тем не менее, я думаю, что заседание было удачным, и все члены остались довольны нашей работой. Спасибо.
Any questions? No. Thank you. Anna, Working Group 3.
Спасибо, Борис. Добрый вечер. Наша группа обсуждала прошедший этап работы, которые плавно перетекают в будущее. Очень важно, что в этом году на официальном заседании мы создали, наконец, определились и создали 5 сабгрупп. Это энергетика, окружающая среда и изменение климата. Это три основные темы, которые у нас даже в названии. Плюс, поскольку вся наша деятельность по охране окружающей среды посвящена охране живой природы, мы решили, что нам нужно поднимать и приковывать внимание к теме сохранения биоразнообразия, поэтому у нас тоже есть такая 4-я сабгруппа и 5-я по устойчивому развитию. Наша группа в этом году начала работу по проекту, финансируемому Civil Society Facility. В рамках этой деятельности мы сделали уже 2-ю оценку надлежащего экологического управления в 6 странах восточного партнерства, странах-партнерах. И мы будем готовить ее для представления уже как напечатанную книгу в Вильнюсе. Также мы вспоминали о том, мы планируем участвовать снова в следующем году в индексе европейской интеграции, глава окружающая среда и устойчивое развитие. Наша рабочая группа, сабгруппа 2 по энергетической безопасности представила свою работу, которую они подготовили, пилотное исследование для стран Украины и Грузии в сравнении с Латвией. Называется «Свод-анализ проблем энергетической безопасности в странах этих регионов». Это вызвало живую дискуссию. Как вы знаете, наша группа объединяет 3 темы. Энергетическая безопасность очень высокополитическая тема, которая по поводу которой существует много взаимоисключающих мнений, в частности у экологов. Мы в результате дискуссии договорились доработать представленный анализ, особенно в аспектах вызовов, которые стоят перед нашими странами относительно использования ядерной энергетики, строительства новых реакторов и, как будет shale gas по-русски? Забыла. И разработки месторождения сланцевых газа. Также сабгруппа по климату подготовила и представила свою заявлений. У нас было в общей сложности 5 различных заявлений. Мы приняли их все, кроме заявления по климату, которое мы будем предлагать для рассмотрения всем форумам и принимать от имени форума. А также мы приняли остальные, как заявление рабочей группы с таким статусом, и подготовили совместную резолюцию, совместно работала вся группа по всем темам животрепещущим, которые в настоящее время самые острые у нас в регионе, требуют наибольшего внимания. Все, спасибо за внимание.
Questions? No? No questions? Thank you. Working Group 4. Yarina.
So in Working Group 4, we concentrated on discussing the structure of the group and possible resolution and issues for work on the subgroups. Regarding the structure, we kept 3 subgroups: youth, culture, and education, and it was an idea to establish one subgroup about elder people, but I don't know what happened. Is the group still established or still not? We have 2 coordinators of subgroup on youth from EU and from Eastern Partnership country. And we have 1 coordinator on education and 1 coordinator on culture. And each subgroup proposed short formulated recommendations to general resolution of the forum. I hope they will be not lost. The activity of group culture focused on forcing and advocating the idea to create Eastern Partnership Cultural Foundation. And secondly, to provide monitoring on UNESCO Convention on cultural expression. The group on education focuses on non-formal and long life learning. And the group on youth focused on structured dialogue and youth policy development, and the group youth proposed to make Youth Eastern Partnership Civil Society youth site event annually. It was conducted 2 days before forum, first time in Chisinau, and the resolution from youth site event to different stakeholders should be distributed now. Yeah, thank you.
Go ahead. Okay. Okay. Now, Working Group 5, please. Gintaras. Ivan will speak.
If you allow me, this time I shall speak English. I was asked by the former EU coordinator of the Group 5, Gintaras Morkis, and the newly elected EU coordinator, Daive, to speak on their behalf. As you know, Working Group 5 is a newly born working group. It's still in the search of its identity. Our work, unfortunately, was at the beginning affected by the fact that assignment of several members of this group was contested. There, unfortunately, we spent a lot of time debating this issue, but nevertheless, then we were able to go also to the substance. And there was very agitated debate about the scope of activities of this group, since the steering committee took a decision to enlarge the scope of this group to involve not only social dialogue issues but also social policy. There was an initial misunderstanding between members of the group from the social partners and the NGOs, how to handle this issue. Finally, we, I think, came to a very reasonable solution that the working group is not a platform for social dialogue. It's a group that will handle both social partners issues and social policy issues. Therefore, NGOs are equal partners for membership in this group, and we hope that it will be a good basis for future debate, which was confirmed by newly elected EU coordinator from Lithuanian trade unions, who promised to pay equal attention to the social issues as well. Unfortunately, due to the fact that one of the members was not legitimized for participation in this group, there were no possibility to elect the Eastern Partner coordinator for this group, and we hope that this issue will be solved by the new steering committee as soon as possible, because this is a necessity to have two coordinators. The group adopted a resolution which we hope will be approved. One is about the importance of the social dialogue and the consultation of civil society with the Eastern Partnership governments. And second one was about the demand that European Commission establishes a thematic platform for social issues, because they are not covered yet by official platform, and we consider that social issues are of utmost importance for acceptance of reforms in the partnership countries.
It's good that you are taking the example of the civil society forum in terms of structure. And now I would like to give the chance also to subgroup coordinators to add something which was missed in the presentations of the working group coordinators. So if there are subgroups who would like to add something, you are welcome. Please, Lydia.
Thank you very much. Actually, it's not that much about subgroup. The first working group, as you know, is very big. So we had several panels, and we discussed this issue of anti-corruption at the panel session, where we had representatives of Eastern Partnership and also European Union. So what we stated is, yes, there is a lot of corruption in all these Eastern Partnership countries. However, it was a little bit strange for us that European structures, they have different approaches to different Eastern Partnership countries. So the anti-corruption agenda, it's not on the between the first lines for all these countries. So we thought that maybe international European institutions, they should put the anti-corruption agenda at the top in all these countries, because they are pretty similar. Then, in its turn, representatives of European EU countries, they said that actually EU also lacks transparency in many things, and we stated that maybe EU should in turn serve as a model of transparent and accountable governance, so that we could undertake this example. Well, we discussed about immunity and impunity. We discussed about immunity of public of MPs, members of the parliament, and officials at high level in many of our Eastern Partnership countries. And not only, impunity is treated in an exaggerated form when it comes to a nonsense. So the private life goes also to impunity, which results in impunity. So then we discussed several issues that we think that should be priority for the next several years in Eastern Partnership in the anti-corruption domain. First of all, we think that civil society needs to monitor the money that are brought from EU structures to our governments. Second, we should treat and understand better and make people more aware about what immunity should cover this knowledge, and then discuss the issue of immunity versus impunity as a consequence of exaggerated immunity. Sorry. We discussed that we all need a proper legislation of whistleblowing and mechanism of implementation. Income and assets declarations should be also one of the priority of civil society. We should monitor this thing and bring to the law those who actually break this legislation. We also think that one of the important issues is tackle the issue of offshore companies use it for corrupt activities, and this should be the priority not only for civil society, because for civil society it's really difficult to see what is going on in these companies, but the issue of the governments and the European structures, so that they will bring more transparency on the companies that are registered offshore. And the last one is the political parties funding. So we want clear mechanism of punishing the political parties that break, first, that are not transparent, and they break the rules on political party funding. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else about subgroups and thematic panels that would make sense to hear and discuss here? No, thank you. So, look, we need to finish this session sharply at 4, because the next session will be very tense and very hard. So we have two options. Do you have something about the... Please. You would propose to present the results of the elections in the working groups, because the ones about national coordinators was already announced yesterday. So now this... Be witness. Could we ask election assessors to join us for that session? Before this will be organized, we still, I think, after even this announcement, we will have some time. So I would suggest for your consideration two options. We still can discuss something about future of the forum, but it is clear that it will be just exchange of opinion, like brainstorming, not taking decisions. Other option could be, since, as I said, we will have very tense sessions after the coffee break, maybe we will use this time to start nomination of the EU coordinators. So which of these two options is more acceptable for you? The second one? Okay. Then immediately after the announcement of the results of the elections in the working groups, we start nominations of EU coordinators, which will continue after the break.
Пока наши асессоры подходят, я бы хотел сделать техническое объявление. Во время первой регистрации, вчера утром, я знаю, что многие по разным причинам не получили бюллетени для голосования по кандидатурам от ИЮ на вот этих последних выборах. Если такие люди, являясь делегатами форума, прошедшими механизм отбора и так далее, все еще есть в зале, и вы хотели бы получить бюллетень, вы можете это сделать. Вот Ярина показывает, где это можно сделать. Регистрация под роспись. Это для последующего голосования. То есть пока мы будем объявлять результат выбора, вы можете, не создавая ажиотаж, подойти и получить свой бюллетень. Второе объявление, которое я хотел бы сделать, касается рабочей группы 5. Там возникла непредвиденная осложняющая ситуация, которую мы не смогли решить в формате сегодняшнего дня. Мы даже собрали специальное заседание уходящего управляющего комитета, но у нас недостаточно данных было для того, чтобы принять решение. И поэтому ввиду этой ситуации у нас есть только один избранный координатор от рабочей группы 5 со стороны ИЮ. И, соответственно, остается свободное место просто потому, что процедура не могла быть завершена. И мы приняли совместное решение о том, что в таком случае на первой же встрече рабочей группы 5, которая будет проходить в этом году, у них будет возможность провести это голосование. Как они это организуют, это уже оставим на усмотрение группы и ее координаторов. Спасибо. А теперь can you present results of elections?
One or starting any group?
Up to you.
Okay. I'll group 4.
Они по порядку лежат.
По порядку. Group 1. Group 1. Okay. I'll start group 4 then. Group 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Should I say?
Yeah, to everyone.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So for the group 1, we have the following winners, if I can say it. So for the, the group 1 has decided that the coordinator for the EU will be Lovit Jeff with 51 votes. Lovin Jeff. And as an Eastern Partnership Coordinator, we have Alieva Leila with 57 votes. Congratulations. Group number 2.
Good afternoon, everybody. So for the working group number 2, Markian Zalek has gathered 26 votes and it was elected. Markian Zalek as EU coordinator. And for the Eastern Partnership Coordinator, Hinadi Maksak with 23 votes. Group number 3.
So for the group number 3, we have Filipova Svetelina as EU coordinator with 10 votes. Okay, congratulations. And Asgarova Aitakin with 17 votes as East Partnership Coordinator. Congratulations.
Good afternoon, everyone. For the working group number 4, we had overall 29 members of the working group participating in the vote, and we had 3 candidates, and 2 of them were for the Eastern Partnership Coordinator, and 1 for to be approved by the group as EU Coordinator. Therefore, the EU Coordinator was elected or approved Alexandra Kuyavska, and for the Eastern Partnership Coordinator role, Nikolai Kvantaliani. Thank you. Overall, of 29 votes, Nikolai Kvantaliani got 23 votes, and Alexandra Kuyavska got 28 votes of 29. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Let's come to the results of working group number 5. For the nomination of the working group EU coordinator, we had 1 candidate, which is Daiva Kvetaraite. She won the election with 21 votes of 22. We had no election of the working group Eastern Partnership coordinator. This didn't take place but was being tabled. So we just have 1 voted person. Madame Daiva Kvetaraite, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys, for your perfect work. Let's applause. And congratulations to all elected steering committee members. Now we still have, why not? We still have like 10 minutes, so as it was suggested, let us start nominations for the 3 positions of EU coordinators in the steering committee. Any ideas, any suggestions, please? Ivan.
I propose Mr. Anton Lipek as from the International Trade Unions Eastern Partnership Committee.
Is someone fixing this? Dear assessors, we are started nomination of EU coordinators. You are fixing it, yes? Did you hear the first nominee? The nominated person, please come so that your name is written without mistakes. Other nominations, Antonella?
I would like to nominate Natalia Dejan from the organization Women in Europe.
And the same request, please, the nominated person to come to the assessors so that the name is written correctly. Stepan. Я уже попросил.
Я предлагаю Яна Пекло, он представляет польскую организацию, а более правильно так, Украина, польско-американская, это одна из ведущих польских общественных организаций. Мы знаем об их деятельности очень много, очень активно работают, поэтому я их предлагаю.
And again, the same request, could you come up to the assessor so that your name is written without mistakes?
Еще раз попросим.
Yes, I think it is clear. Just to avoid any confusions, the nominees for the positions of EU coordinators are only for those organizations which are selected as delegates on behalf of EU-based organizations, and for the quota of the EU-based organizations. Once more. I would like to ask the nominated colleagues to come to the table and take care that their names are recorded properly. Andrei, and then Kirill and Jeff.
I would like to nominate Kirill Savin from Heinrich Böll Foundation.
Thank you. Instead of Kirill, Andrei is approaching. Now Kirill.
I would like to nominate Antonella. I know she's not really willing to do it, but I think we need her. But she's active, she has experience, and maybe she can think about it and accept this nomination.
Okay, Antonella? Not here? Okay, we'll ask later. In 10 minutes you will confirm or not? Okay. Sorry. Jeff and then Vlad.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Ivana Skalova from People in Need in the Czech Republic.
Ivana, please. Could you come also here? Yeah. Vlad.
I would like to nominate Ognjen Radonic from Swedish NGO Center for Development Cooperation Forum Syd, Sweden.
Thank you. The same request. Excuse me? No. No. There is no such a rule.
I want to nominate Mrs. Kristina Vaichkunaite, whom know you very good from yesterday's second panel. Kristina Vaichkunaite, European Studies Center.
Okay. Just explanation on this remark. The EU coordinators are elected by all delegates of the forum, which means that they can be nominated also by any delegate of the forum. No? Could you come and, yeah. Yeah? Mm-hmm. You can take. Yes. 1 moment.
So, participants from the forum comprise A, representative of civil society organizations from Eastern Partnership countries, and B, representatives of civil society organizations from EU member states. Representatives of the category B, it means representative of the EU, are eligible of nomination as EU coordinators.
Yes.
And should be also a nominate from the EU.
No.
I think so.
No.
It's logical.
No, logical is that if all delegates are electing EU coordinators, this means that they can also nominate them. This is logical way. Yeah, they are eligible for being nominated, but to nominate, any delegate can do this. More suggestions? So we are quite in time. Can we say that, Antonella, did you decide? You do not agree? So, can anyone to announce all names of the nominees? Who is ready? Yaroslav, can you announce all the names of the nominated person? Yeah, you will see now on the screen then. You will see on the screen, then you will have time to think before the next session, and presentations from the nominated delegates will be already after the break. You can wait or just join the coffee break. Thank you. Thank you all for the attention.
тех, кто уже здесь, я еще раз напомню, что сейчас происходит. Да, я предлагаю туда сесть. Идите. Да, Кристина. Сейчас, поскольку во время предыдущей сессии мы не утвердили предложение о сокращении количественного состава управляющего комитета, нам предстоит процедура выборов 3 координаторов от ЕС. Те из вас, которые уже определились с выбором, должны заметить, что у нас 7 кандидатов. Их имена расположены в алфавитном порядке на экране. У вас в бюллетенях есть только 6 цифр. Поэтому мы просто не ожидали такого высокого конкурса. И поэтому я прошу вас, если вам это не сложно, нарисовать нам еще у каждого в бюллетене цифру 7. Да. Если вы будете голосовать за 7-го, за Кристину, то припишите цифру 7. Если нет, то мы беремся. Да. Уважаемые коллеги, я прошу вас пока еще не спешить со своим выбором, потому что нам еще предстоит презентация, самопрезентация наших 7 кандидатов. Мне кажется, на основании этой презентации вам будет не только проще, но и разумнее принимать ваши решения. Уважаемые коллеги, еще раз напоминаю про технические вопросы. Те из вас, кто, возможно, по каким-то причинам не получил... Ближе или дальше? Меня плохо слышно, да? Простите. Коллеги, еще раз напоминаю про технические вопросы. Те из вас, кто по каким-то причинам во время регистрации не получил под роспись бюллетень, являясь кандидатом форума, можете все еще сделать это у того столика. Там. Значит, теперь дальше. Сейчас нам предстоит выбрать троих, не одного, а троих, и каждый будет голосовать максимум по 3 фамилиям. Но можно выбирать только одну или 2. Но в итоге мы выбираем троих из списка, представленного на экране. Представителей от ЕЮ в новый руководящий комитет форума гражданского общества Восточного партнерства. Ящики для голосований будут находиться в 4 углах этого зала и плюс один еще здесь. У меня к вам просьба, поскольку мы не ожидали такого большого конкурса, мы сделали там только 6 цифр, ожидая, что кандидатов не может быть больше 6, их 7, поэтому я прошу вас самостоятельно дописать цифру 7 в ваших бюллетенях. Определившись с выбором после презентации, вам надо будет обвести кружочком или как-то по-другому пометить порядковый номер тех кандидатов, за которых вы голосуете, и желательно, если вам не сложно, указать рядом их фамилии, чтобы точно не ошибиться и чтобы мы могли потом пересчитать в случае каких-то спорных моментов. Все ли пока что понятно? Есть вопросы? Что? 3. Максимум 3 кандидатуры. В любом случае мы выберем 3 человек. Поэтому мы голосуем, каждый из нас, не больше, чем за 3 кандидата. Можно меньше, если вы не уверены. Можно ни за кого не голосовать, но не больше, чем за 3. Еще вопросы? Значит, голосование проводится. Берете бюллетень, обводите в кружок цифру, порядковый номер кандидата, пишите рядом его фамилию, и так по каждому из кандидатов. Все понятно? Значит, чтобы не было столпотворения, выбирайте урну для голосования, которая находится ближе всего к вам. Если больше вопросов нет, то я приглашаю с речью первого кандидата. Диан Наталья.
Before we start introducing the delegates, one more technical, or 2 more technical announcements which are important. 3 delegates did not receive their per diems. I have only second names: Mr. Kotral, Mr. Binek, Mr. Fedorovich. Господин Котрал, Бинек и Федорович, вы не получили суточные. Спуститесь на первый этаж к представителям чекоформы и получите свои суточные. Regarding the transfer to the airport, please check the time of your departure, and 2 hours 15 minutes before the departure, the transfer will be organized from your hotel. So please be down 2 hours 15 minutes before the departure. Повторить по-русски, наверное, надо, перевода нет. Насчет трансфера в аэропорт. Трансфер будет организован за 2 часа 15 минут до времени, обозначенного как время вашего вылета. Поэтому будьте в лобби гостиницы за 2 часа 15 минут. Понятно все? Спасибо. Сейчас мы начинаем представление кандидатов, и мы имеем Наталья. Natalia Dejan, please.
Hello. First of all, I would like to thank you very much. I'm really very honored to be here today and to be back in my native country as a representative of WECF, Women in Europe for a Common Future. It's a network of women and environmental organization created in 1994 in order to give a strong voice to women in environmental and sustainable development policies. And our strong point, the strong point of our organization is that we bring together partners from the eastern countries. We have 150 organizations being partner of the network. We work with them on affordable and sustainable safe solutions in the areas of water, sanitation, energy, and safe chemicals and food. And at the same time, we advocacy at UN, at international and national levels in order to take into account women's priorities and women's needs in these policies, and also the needs of the pure rural countries, pure rural communities in our partner countries in the ECA region and Asia and Caucasus. Thank you very much. I will be very honored to work together with already the national coordinators and the steering committee.
Thank you very much. Now candidate number 2.
Good afternoon, colleagues. I'm also very pleased that and surprised that I was nominated by my colleagues from different countries. I represent the International Trade Union Confederation. It's Pan-European Regional Council, the structure that deals with the Europe as such. The ITUC is the largest trade union body in the world that actually represents interests of 175 million workers. In Europe, we have 90 affiliated organizations, both in EU countries, but also outside the EU. And we have member organizations in all Eastern Partnership countries. So basically, my everyday job is to make sure that there are contacts between different organizations of broad Europe. I was part of the social dialogue group. I was not thinking of proposing myself as a coordinator for the group, but when there was a discussion of the European organization just after the lunch, and when it was discovered that there was a proposal to cut the EU participation in the steering group due to lack of candidacy, lack of interest, I thought, and my colleagues advised, also recommended that I should stand for it, also to prove that there is interest, and there is interest really to make the bridges, to make real cooperation between Eastern Partnership civil society organizations and the civil society organizations within the European Union. The other point why I would like to take this commitment is the fact that within the Eastern Partnership and, to my regret, also within the Civil Society Forum, the issue of social and economic rights is not at the far front. It's being sidelined, I would say. There was not enough adequate attention paid to the issues of economic and social rights. Our group today discussed that, and really that is something that I would like to push forward. And the third rationality is that I am as representative from trade union movement. We have interest in all different platforms of the Eastern Partnership, in all the 4 platforms. Moreover, we would like to push for the setting up of the additional platform on social policies. That's to be brief, and to the point, also linked with the availability and participation in different activities. My organization is Brussels-based. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate number 3.
I'm surprised because I think that my name is on the list. My name is Jan Piekło. I would like to thank Stefan Grigorian for nominating me. My background is journalism. I worked as a journalist for most of my life. I covered the Romanian Revolution, then the war in the former Yugoslavia, and since almost more than 10 years I started working in the third sector in Ukraine, and since 7 years I am a director of the Polish Ukrainian Cooperation Foundation PAUCI, and we work in Ukraine, Moldova, Georgia, Armenia, and we work also in Azerbaijan. So I learned a lot from my partners, my colleagues, and I will be really happy to help in stimulating the better cooperation between the EU colleagues and our partners from Eastern Partnership. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Candidate number 4.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ognjen Radonjic, and I am not national of EU member state. However, here I do represent Swedish civil society organization Forum SED. My organization is a platform with 218 Swedish member organizations. Last year, through Forum SED, our member organizations worked in over 60 countries in the world, including all 6 Eastern European countries. We also have 6 country offices around the world. One for Eastern Partnership is based in Lithuania and working specifically with Belarus. On my disposal, in my head office, we will have facilities to develop policies and do advocacy, particularly on Swedish level, but also on European level. What was said earlier that there is a decreasing number of European organizations and interest into Eastern Partnership. That is to some extent true for Swedish organizations. It's only 2 besides me here. However, we have quite representation of Swedish government and Swedish development agencies here. So there is an interest, but I believe that there is lack of facilities for these organizations to join in. So that would be my first priority if I'm elected as your representative into steering committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate number 5.
My name is Kirill Savin. I'm head of Kiev office of the Heinrich Böll Foundation, which is a German green political foundation operating in Ukraine and Belarus. I'm in Kiev office. The Heinrich Böll Foundation as whole is one of German political foundations with 30 offices worldwide. We are working on the ground, we are working with civil society, we try to support civil society, and why I am candidating for this position as a member of steering committee, because as I understand, we are facing really big challenge because it is the 5th forum of the civil society, and this initial enthusiasm is behind us, and you see we are speaking more enthusiastic about election for the steering committee as for political problems. We have no discussion in plenary this time about Vilnius, about all of political challenges. And I think it's time to change something, to make a new structure of the forum, to make a new strategy to develop the forum. And I am very, very open, and I am ready to invest my knowledge and experience to develop the strategy and to make this forum better. So if you want to give your vote for myself, please circle number 5.
Candidate number 6.
Добрый вечер. Я буду говорить по-русски, чтобы меня понимали все коллеги из 6 стран Восточного партнерства. И меня зовут Ивана Скалова, и я представляю организацию People in Need, человек в беде, из Чешской Республики. Я сама работаю в отделе поддержки прав человека и демократии, который в Восточной Европе работает в Украине, в Белоруссии, в Азербайджане и здесь в Молдове, и это на территории Приднестровья. Но я не буду дальше перечислять, где мы делаем, сколько у нас проектов, чем мы занимаемся. Я бы скорее хотела сказать, что бы я хотела сделать, чтобы быть координатором европейским. Это, во-первых, донести до наших сограждан в Евросоюзе о существовании как минимум этих 6 стран в Восточной Европе, донести до них проблемы этих стран, приглашать их, чтобы посещали ваши страны, чтобы они сами с вами знакомились, узнавали о ваших проблемах. И вторая тема, это если будет такая возможность, я бы хотела тоже немножко изменить что-то в работе этого форума, так как сегодня я действительно почувствовала, как очень часто такой большой форум, такая структура работает неэффективно и неконструктивно, если у нас осталось на работу в сабгруппах, где решаются действительно конкретные уже вопросы, конкретные проекты, конкретные шаги и содержательные темы, нам осталось час. За всех этих 2 дней у нас был 1 час, чтобы обсудить темы, затрагивающие каждого члена гражданского общества. И это я бы постаралась как-то внести какие-то изменения до схемы и работы этого форума. Спасибо.
Thank you. Christina. The only candidate among 7 who was in the previous team.
Yeah, that non-existent number on the ballot. Добрый вечер. Меня зовут Кристина Вайчунайте. Я из Литвы. Я член Current Steering Committee. И я директор Центра исследований Восточной Европы. И мы работаем в регионе уже 7 лет. Программы у нас разные, молодежные, гендерские программы. Мы очень развиваем и нашу такую специализацию по election observation. Я та Кристина, которая подписала приглашение для вас приехать в Вильнюс. Так я надеюсь, что часть и большую часть наверняка встретим в ноябре. Не самое хорошее время, ноябрь в Вильнюсе, но сделаем все, чтобы вам было уютно. В Вильнюсе мы и будем говорить про то, как I'll turn to English. How to strengthen the participation of civil society into the participation in political decision making, because we see a great potential of the Civil Society Forum as a network, but what it lacks, it isn't yet a opinion former in the Brussels corridors or in the capitals of Eastern Partnership countries. So in terms of being like EU coordinator, I really think that I can contribute helping the forum to become an opinion leader. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I think we can start discussing the resolution and not to lose time, not creating queues, starting voting for the candidates. Now, Chris, are you ready? You don't want to do it in the same time? But then we will not have time for discussion. Okay. On the resolution and adoption of them.
If everyone voted very quickly.
Okay, let's try to vote very quickly. We have several boxes, so it's a chance. But please do not leave the hall after the voting. We will still have very serious things to do. Пожалуйста, после голосования не расходитесь. У нас еще важные документы, которые должны быть обсуждены и приняты.
Yeah. We have another minute. Okay, that minute is over. Just take your box away and count it. Go away. Thank you very much, and thank you to the assessors. Good luck. Okay, we've reached. Can I just ask for your attention? We've reached the final stage of this forum, which is looking at the resolutions and passing the resolutions which the Resolutions Committee thinks should be passed by the forum itself. a number of resolutions have been passed by working groups, and they will become forum documents, but these are resolutions which either have, we think, are quite important, or they don't have a subgroup or a working group. They are orphans. Could I ask people, if they're not listening to me, at least if they could stop talking? At the back, especially at the back, because this is actually not only this is quite important, but it's actually quite complicated. Oh, good. That's right. You're calming down now. Good. The noise is subsiding. The people at the back, could you stop talking or go away? You're having your photograph taken. All right. Listen, the first resolution, and you should have most of these resolutions, it's the first because we are in Moldova, and this is a statement on the EU-Moldova Association Agreement and visa liberalization process. And this is a statement which really covers everything to do with Moldova and its European aspirations. The statement calls for the lifting of visa restrictions on Moldova. It calls on the government in Moldova to do lots of things to make European approximation much easier and association with Europe much easier. It calls on, it supports Ukraine and Georgia in associating with the European Union, and it shows solidarity with the society of Armenia and support for the government of Armenia before pressures of any kind regarding its association with the European Union. So, could I ask, does anyone want to say anything about this, or to say they don't agree with this? If you want to put it on the screen, that's fine, but I think we all have this, actually. You should have been given this, and you should have read it. So, no one has raised their hand, so could I ask for a show of hands, do you agree with this resolution or not? Could you just put up your hands if you think this is a good idea? This is the statement on the EU-Moldova Association Agreement and visa liberalization process. To do what? I'm responsible, yeah. Okay, I think there was a majority there. If someone thinks there wasn't a majority, then we'll count you, but it'll take much longer. The next resolution, which is linked to this, is called Towards a Visa-Free Europe, Making the Dream Real. And this is an appeal to the European Union to lift visa restrictions on Moldova expressly. You have it, you should have looked at it. And there's an addition here, an amendment from the authors. We appeal to Europe and to the European and Armenian parliaments to bring forward the ratification of the readmission and visa facilitation agreements from the beginning of this year. Armenia abolished Schengen visas for EU citizens, accepted Schengen visas probably. Therefore, we believe that Armenian citizens, as a consequence, should meet into visa movement to EU countries. So basically this is telling Armenia, the Armenian Parliament and European Parliament to get a move on. I don't think this is controversial unless you want to keep Moldovans and Armenians out of the European Union. So can I see if there's anyone wants to speak about this, and does anyone want to oppose it? Can I see a show of hands on this one? Okay. There are whole groups of people who aren't voting, but I suppose that's fatigue rather than anything else. The next resolution is calls for Ukraine to sign the association agreement with the EU, and by definition also for the EU to sign the association agreement. We turn to the Ukrainian authorities to resolve the problem of the continued imprisonment of Yulia Tymoshenko in such a way as to satisfy the demands of defenders of democratic values at home and the international community, including the European Union. You've seen it, you can have read it. Does the author want to say anything about this or not? Do you? Well, come and say something. And maybe Alexander Sushko also said he might want to say something about this.
We tried to shape this resolution in a form which would be a resolution on behalf on all of us, simply. Not just a single country, but all of us. And I'm very grateful to Sasha Sushko. I'm very grateful to Sasha because he agreed to take our text as a text also of the Ukrainian platform.
Yes, it was the idea to develop some statement which calling the EU member states and EU institutions as well as Ukrainian government to do all the best in order to ensure signing of association agreement in Vilnius. And then we have read this first statement by Polish NGOs. We decided just to combine efforts in order not to duplicate the same messages. And that is why we are coming to you with our joint position, Polish and Ukrainian NGOs, with quite clear statements which express our will to have associations signed and the overall process to go ahead.
Which will stimulate the Georgian...
Yes, definitely. That's just the first step. We refer to all these arguments which are, in our opinion, crucial and important for policymakers in order to not to have this process blocked or delayed.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. I see one speaker. Did you want to speak? Do you want to say something? No, you just... Okay, you were that. Does anyone else want to talk on this? This is actually one of the crucial issues of the period before the summit. Okay, could I see you voting? Thank you very much. It's one vote. Now people are voting with vigor. Thank you very much. So I think that's a yes. The next resolution is the next resolution comes from Georgia, from the National Platform, and this is, you've seen it, you should have read it. This is that we express our deep concern over the latest developments along the occupation line with breakaway South Ossetia, and it says that the Russian occupation forces are violating the rights and freedoms of the population of occupied and neighbor territories, claiming that they are implementing the 2008 ceasefire agreement between Georgia and Russia. So what we call on the European Union and the member states to openly request the Russian Federation to implement the 2008 agreement and come out with new effective mechanisms and formats which will protect the rights of the affected people of the sovereignty of Georgia. It also expresses the opinion that these actions by the Russians at the moment are also designed to spoil Georgia's EU aspirations, and this is probably, they don't say this, but this is part of a pattern of pressure, of Russian pressure, which we will hear about in a moment. Manana, do you want to say anything about this? Yes, come forward. It's there. Manana, it's there. You just can't stay away from me.
So I think why it's important, because in general, if we speak, Russia has no more pressure on Georgia, no anymore any type of the mechanism except of the military pressure and military invasion. And we see that from May of this year, when the association agreement negotiation has really speed up, has been finalized and things start to be speed up for initialing, the pressure has been increased, and the situation is really drastic because they are forcing the people to leave their houses, and the people themselves are destroying the houses, destroying in their own gardens and crops, because they don't simply want to leave it to the Russian militaries. And please support this statement. Thank you.
Okay. Manana, stay there. Actually, don't go. So does anyone else want to speak on this? Okay. So, yes, please. Stefan Grigorian.
Я хотел бы, я из Армении, я не из Грузии, Степан Григорян. Значит, я что хочу сказать. Вот это давление России на страны Восточного партнерства совершенно очевидно, совершенно видно, начиная от молдавского вина, там, что они блокируют, кончая тем, что напугали президента Армении. Оно есть, и этому гражданское общество должно сказать «нет». То есть наша позиция в данном случае по грузинской резолюции, это сказанное «нет» и во всех этих случаях Украины, Молдовы, Грузии, Армении, когда есть давление, а это неприемлемо. В конце концов, в рамках Восточного партнерства у нас, помните, что есть? Свободное передвижение, свободное общение людей. А здесь, знаете, да, проволоку делают и постепенно эту проволоку передвигают вглубь Грузии. Я думаю, мы должны поддержать. И этот вопрос не только наших грузинских коллег. Это и наша общая задача – поддержать грузинскую делегацию в этой резолюции.
Okay, can I see you, how you vote? Could I just see your hands? Thank you. Thank you very much. So that's a yes. But we're not finished with Russia yet, because we have another Georgian resolution, which is we welcome the historic prospect of the partnership agreement. We express our solidarity and share the disagreement and frustration expressed in the statement of the Armenian National Platform, which we will be coming to. And we are deeply concerned with the constant political and economic pressure exercised by the Russian Federation towards the Eastern Partnership countries, including the intensification of the so-called borderization process, which we've just been talking about. The statement really criticizes the customs union. It says it represents a political agenda, including the creation of common military and policy forces for police forces, for internal conflict resolution, a defense center in Moscow, a common parliament and executive bodies, a common foreign policy with the Russian Federation, a common education and banking system, along with a common customs and economic space. We call on the EU to reaffirm its strong political and financial support to the Eastern Partnership countries after the Vilnius summit, to ensure the speeding up of the signature ratification of AA and DCFTAs, strengthen the visa dialogue with selected EaP countries, and for the EU and its institutions to counter Russian pressure regarding the EaP countries, and to come forward with concrete, effective measures to support and protect the EaP partner countries. So basically we're telling Russia to go away, and we're telling the European Union to help us. Do you want to say something about this, Manana?
Just only one thing, that the custom union is not really the economic union, and it really needs to, and generally speaking, the customs union will be maybe more headache for European Union than for countries that is already under the pressure of Russia. And we are the all of us is under the pressure of Russia, and we really need to come out with some effective and concrete mechanism, because I don't know how many of you know what the custom union is about at the end of the day, because it's not really about the tariffs and how the goods will be moved within the countries. It's about common parliament, it's about common defensive center, it's about common foreign policy, and everything is coordinated by Russia. We will have the preferential treatment for the goods that will be produced in Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and at the end of the day, it means that the prices for the normal people will go up, while the quality for production will go down. So we really need not only the call EU to bring some concrete support mechanisms like they do in case of Moldova or they are doing in case of Ukraine and Georgia, but also we really need to inform the people in the European Union as well as our countries what this custom union is really about, because we don't really hear lots of the experts' opinion what this is and how we can stop this Russia new empire ambitions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone want to add something? Or so be against it? Okay, so can I ask you to vote? Thank you very much. I think that's a majority. Thank you. The next statement, you're free, actually. Manana, you can go now. Yeah, that's enough. Thank you. Thank you, Manana. Now we have a statement on the failure to initial the association agreement between Armenia and the EU. We express our solidarity and share the disagreement and frustration expressed in the statement of the Armenian National Platform. We strictly condemn non-democratic and transparent processes in official decision-making, as well as the external pressure brought particularly by the Russian Federation on the EaP countries. What has happened, we say, with Armenia is a lesson for both the European Union and the Eastern Partnership countries. This experience shows that the EaP faces significant obstacles if there are no clear criteria of implementing obligations which have been undertaken, and without effective cooperation between the partner countries with each other, as well as purposeful and wide support for the process of European integration by society. The Civil Society Forum expresses its readiness to intensify its efforts in working on all three directions. So that's basically propagating the European Union message in their countries, but also making sure that there are clear criteria of obligations. We support the efforts of the Armenian National Platform to promote the processes of European integration and call on the authorities of the Republic of Armenia to increase the level and effectiveness of the dialogue with civil society, particularly with the ANP. So you want to continue talking with your government, which is good. We support the Armenian National Platform, and we, as a result, call on the Armenian Parliament to hold open, I suppose, hearings about the situation and call for a special session of the Parliament aimed at evaluating the respective statement, the statement of the President of Armenia of the beginning of September. And we call on MPs in Armenia to support this. Boris, do you want to say anything about this? No, the message is clear. Does anyone else want to say something? Okay, so can I ask you to support this or vote on this motion? All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. So that's passed. Now we have a joint resolution by the Azerbaijan and Belarus delegation, and basically they are protesting and demanding the release of political prisoners. In Belarus, we know the situation. The motion mentions Vyasna, the president of Vyasna, and Alex Bialyatsky, who for 2 years has been in prison for his human rights work. I think this is actually very important that the two national platforms have come together and produced this resolution together. It says the Azerbaijan poor human rights record has deteriorated persistently in the last several years, and there's been an effective worsening of the worsening from early 2011. It mentions the political prisoners. It's a long resolution, but I think it deserves it. It calls on the government of Azerbaijan to fully observe the absolute prohibition on torture and ill treatment of detainees, to conduct independent, timely, thorough and effective inquiries into all allegations of torture and ill treatment, and to hold perpetrators accountable, to take urgent steps to ensure the release of journalists, political activists and human rights defenders, to publicly denounce attacks and intimidation of journalists, to ensure that everyone detained gets a fair trial, and to abolish criminal defamation laws, allow peaceful assemblies and cancel legislative changes. The resolution wants the European Union to make fundamental rights and freedoms an essential part of any EU-Azerbaijan meeting, to ensure sufficient monitoring and reporting on how Azerbaijan is considering recommendations made in the European Neighbourhood Policy Progress Reports, and to make a measurable improvement in the area of human rights a clear requisite in the framework of negotiations for a redefined EU-Azerbaijan relationship. So, does anyone want to say anything about this? Would Yaroslav? No. Can we vote on this? Yes. It starts from Belarus. Resolution of the Eastern Partnership Civil Society Forum on the massive political arrests of oppositionists.
Actually,
no. It's in the text.
It's in the text.
We view as unacceptable for any country, including we, the participants of the forum, express our solidarity with all political prisoners in the Eastern Partnership countries and demand their immediate release. So.
There is a call on Belarusian authorities or the civil society from the European Union to take an action on the situation of...
Which part? Where are you?
Which paragraph?
Well, to say what you want to say.
At the end, there is only call on the government, the authorities of Azerbaijan and the European Union to take measures with regard to Azerbaijan, not to Belarus.
Okay. So can we put that in afterwards? But I think the message is clear.
Yes.
All right.
I just reminded
we'll talk
you
when we finish.
Yeah.
Reminded you. But don't forget to do this. To talk to me.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Can we see if you vote for this or not? It's just raise your hands, please. Okay. So I think that's okay. This is a statement on, the next one is a statement on the social-political situation in Azerbaijan on the eve of the election. And basically this repeats some of the messages of the previous one and basically calls on the government of Azerbaijan to behave properly in the pre-election period and to allow free elections to be held. It's controversial for the government of Azerbaijan. I don't think it's controversial for the rest of us. So, does anyone want to speak on this one? The authors? No. So maybe could we see you voting on this? Right. That's good. Thank you very much. And the next one is on the situation of NGOs in Azerbaijan. And the situation of NGOs in Azerbaijan is not good. Restrictions are significant, and basically the resolution calls for the cancellation of registration requirements for NGOs, lift all legal provisions restricting civil society free activities such as high fines, registration of grants, etc., simplify financial reporting, introduce the provisions freeing NGOs from taxes. I know that we are repeating ourselves a little bit, and I know that we have 3 resolutions about Azerbaijan, but I'd like to say that the situation in Azerbaijan is difficult, to say the least. And secondly, these resolutions will be publicized, will be sent around in Azerbaijan itself. This is really the most important thing at the moment. These things are eagerly read, and I think that they are very important, that all these points should be made, even though you may be getting tired of voting about Azerbaijan. But this is actually very, very important for the dynamics of the situation, and supporting these resolutions, we get lots of credibility in Azerbaijan. I think our Azeri colleagues will agree with me. So can I ask you to vote for this one about improving the bad situation of NGOs in Azerbaijan? Thank you very much. Thank you. Now we're getting, don't worry, we're getting to the end. Yaroslav, do you want to make a break and announce the results of the election or not?
Not yet.
Okay, all right. So the next one is, actually, Yaroslav, if you could stay and tell us about the Greenpeace resolution quickly. Because I don't have it printed out, it got lost somewhere, but there is a resolution on the Greenpeace incident.
Коллеги, еще до форума было разослано предложение резолюции форума по ситуации с судном Arctic Sunrise Greenpeace. Сегодня, 5 числа, Международный день солидарности с Greenpeace по поводу того, что сейчас, как вы знаете, происходит в России. Международная команда Greenpeace, в состав которой входили некоторые граждане с территории стран Восточного партнерства, а также граждане Европы, было фактически незаконно захвачено российскими пограничниками в международных водах, которые фактически не имели права на это, потому что это всего лишь зона преимущественной экономической деятельности России, то есть неохраняемая территория, не принадлежащая ни одной стране. Правовой анализ действий как Greenpeace, так и российских пограничников дает основание говорить о том, что со стороны Greenpeace не было ни одного нарушения ни национального, ни международного законодательства. Ряд положений морского права, международного права были нарушены со стороны российских властей. Сейчас 30 активистов Greenpeace находятся в тюрьме в Мурманске, им грозят уголовные сроки по статье «Пиратство». И мы решили не предлагать эту резолюцию как резолюцию рабочей группы 3, потому что это на самом деле не про экологию, не про климат, это не про окружающую среду и не про энергетику. Это про то, что активизм не является терроризмом, активизм не является криминалом. И резолюция, которую мы предлагаем принять, призывает признать нарушения, допущенные Россией, и освободить экипаж и команду судна Arctic Sunrise.
Thank you very much, Yaroslav. Does anyone want to speak against this motion? There may be people who feel that the Arctic is a place where we should be looking for mineral resources. No. There may be people who think that these rigs should be free of intervention by Greenpeace activists. Anyway, so can we vote on this one? If it's close, then it's not close. Well done, Yaroslav. I apologize that we didn't have a text for you. But Yaroslav, you have to find the text and you have to give it to me. Anyway, the next one is slightly, in a sense, it's slightly more controversial because there may be climate change deniers among you, and you feel that climate change is a complete waste of time and it's a distraction, and it's been thought up by people who are irresponsible. This is a draft resolution on climate change, which is talks about the need for the upcoming conference in Warsaw to do the right things on climate change and and for the UN to reform its processes. And basically, you've had it, and it's quite specialized. I apologize for that, but the thing is, I think the issue is so important that we should have the whole of the forum talking about voting on this. Yaroslav, please.
Эта резолюция готовилась в рамках рабочей группы 3. но она опять-таки касается не только Восточного партнерства, не только форума, поэтому мы предлагаем всему форуму ее принять как резолюцию форума. Речь идет о том, что каждый раз, буквально с интервалом иногда в несколько недель, иногда в месяц, после нашего форума происходят встречи, конференции сторон рамочной конвенции ООН по изменению климата. Конечно, в них участвуют наши страны, и в последнее время наши страны, как минимум Беларусь, Украина, но и не только они, стали причиной того, что темп переговоров замедлился, и переговорщики со всего мира не могут прийти к своей цели, общему юридически обязательному соглашению по мерам предотвращения изменения климата, по различным аспектам, которые указаны в том тексте, который есть у вас. Дедлайн, который был назначен в рамках переговоров, это 2015 год. Это будет очередная конференция. Сейчас переговорщики топчутся на месте уже год и не могут продвинуться из-за блокирующих позиций. Мы подготовили обращение, это может быть даже не резолюция, обращение к переговорщикам, в первую очередь от Европейского Союза и от наших стран в том числе, чтобы они проявили политическую волю и совершили все-таки следующий шаг в переговорах. И кроме того, эти переговоры будут происходить в этом году в Варшаве. Польша является принимающей стороной. Польша является специфической стороной в этих переговорах, потому что, с одной стороны, это страна ЕС, наиболее прогрессивного переговорщика. С другой стороны, Польша сама по себе страна, которая очень сильно экономически зависит от угольной промышленности и тоже в определенном смысле блокирует позицию ЕС на этих переговорах. И мы обращаемся также к правительству Польши, чтобы их позиции были конструктивны, а цели не ограничивались только экономическими приоритетами.
Thank you very much, Yaroslav. It's all true about Poland. There are people in Poland who think that the climate change negotiations are there to destroy the country, and senior government people think that this is all a waste of time. So I wish you all the best when you come to Warsaw to change their mind. Does anyone want to speak against this resolution? Okay, so let's vote. Let's vote. I think we should count this one. I think we should count this one. We should count the votes, because that wasn't a... So can I ask the people who are for this resolution to raise their hands again? Yaroslav was completely unbiased. It's okay. Yeah. And the two of us, so that's 90. And who's against? Sorry, that's just one. And who didn't vote? Who abstained? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. Okay, so that's passed. Thank you very much. The next, I shouldn't have favourites, but the next one is my favourite. It's about surveillance in Georgia and destroying the police files of illegal surveillance in Georgia. But you have it, you should have read it. It takes the issue further because it says that the decision to destroy some of these files in Georgia is a precedent for EaP countries to control illegal surveillance. More needs to be done, and it's a problem in all the East EaP countries. So it's important that the EU, through its relevant institutions, should start to assess the situation regarding the illegal surveillance with the wide participation of CSO. So basically we're calling on all the civil society in all the countries to take an interest in this, and also for the EU to take an interest in this. Does anyone want to speak for this surveillance business? Manana, you don't want to. Manana's gone. Who is it? Is anyone against? Okay, so please vote on this one. Yeah. Okay, I think that's a majority. Thank you very much. Now we have a draft resolution from the subgroup on local government and public administration, which you have had, so you've seen. Basically, it calls on Civil Society Forum to adopt the whole issue among its priorities. This is why we're asking you to vote on this. We didn't keep it at the working group level. It calls for support in the implementation of the European Charter on Local Self-Government. It calls on the governments to sign additional protocols. It's basically uncontroversial if you're in favor of decentralization of financial mechanisms in local government, etc. So, does Antonella, do you want to say anything about this? I think maybe you should, no? Just briefly.
Yeah, nothing much more what you said, Christoph. So we focus on fiscal decentralization and specificity within the effort of decentralization and raising a stronger effort against fighting against corruption. There is one point on a possible flagship initiative regarding municipal development and delivery of public services. And we support something that you didn't mention. We would like you to support the territorial and multi-stakeholder approach of development. So I think you have the rest in your paper. It's a quite detailed resolution. So if you have questions for me and for my working group, we can answer.
Yeah. Do we have any questions? Do we have anyone who's against? Okay, I think everyone's thinking about the wine festival, to be honest. So can we see your hands whether you're voting for this or not? Right. You have to support the local government subgroup. Come on, it's one for all and all for one. Who's against this? Okay, there was a majority there, so that's passed. Thank you very much. Now we have a resolution on inclusion, which comes from some people who want us to support, and I think want us to support the elimination of barriers and to work for accessibility for people both with and without disabilities. The exchange of experience on the realization of UN Human Rights Disability Convention should become a permanent part of the working plans of the Forum. Activities within the Forum should take place with active participation and inclusion of people with disabilities and their NGOs. We acknowledge that social rights are an important dimension to be addressed within its work. Therefore, a subgroup, inclusion and social policy, is to be found. And I think, as I mentioned earlier today, we're not quite sure whether we want this to go into working group 5 or working group 1. Does the author of this want to say anything? Yes. Well, please come up. There's only one more, so don't panic.
Я буду говорить по-русски, только уже все было прочитано. Некоторые энтузиасты, которые ангажируются по этой тематике, предлагают нашему форуму уважать и в следующий раз заниматься с темой ООН-конвенции о правах человека с ограниченными возможностями. Это чистые права человека, и поэтому мы сегодня предлагали эту тему в первой группе, но действительно мы обсуждали вопрос и заниматься этой тематикой в пятой группе. Но эта тема касается всех областей жизни во всех странах Восточного партнерства и, конечно, и стран Европейского Союза. Это касается права человека, образования, работоустройства, контакты между людьми и социальную политику. И поэтому мы очень предлагаем включить эту тему вовлечение и социальная политика в политику форума, фактически во всех группах, и мы предлагаем конкретно основание подразделения одной рабочей группы по этой тематике. И мы просим ваше согласие за этого. Спасибо.
Thank you very much. Does anyone want to speak against this? Against this? Okay. Can we vote on it? Please raise your hands. Thank you very much. So that, I think that's a majority. So thank you. Now we've reached the last one, which is called the Guidelines for a Draft Statement from the Steering Committee for the Adoption by the CSF in Chisinau. This is basically, it has a very strange structure because there is a bit at the beginning which ends with the words, this is a message from Chisinau which the EaP summit in Vilnius must not forget. And then it starts, there are 3 annexes. Now, these annexes, this strange structure is actually a compromise between those in the steering committee who wanted a short and sharp statement about the politics of the run-up to Vilnius, and those who wanted to put everything into the statement from the working groups. And the compromise is that we're showing you what will probably go into the statement that will be edited this after we go to the wine festival. But also the political part in the beginning is something that we can approve now, because the other stuff has been approved by the working groups. But when finally you see this, when it's fully born, it will be a longer statement. You've had the statement. I don't think, do I need to read it? It sums up quite a lot of the things that have been said in the resolutions on Azerbaijan, on Armenia, or Georgia. And this is, I think you were calling for we should have something for Vilnius, we should have something, well this is our message to Vilnius, and it will be expanded on. I don't know, should I read it? You want me to read it? No. All right, is there anyone who wants to talk about this? Let me just go through it quickly, actually, to see if it adds anything on the... One of the main points of this is that the Eastern Partnership should not go into... should stay as one thing. It shouldn't go into a group of those who have signed, a group of those who have initialed, and a group of those who will never initial. There should be a multilateral approach. It should be the Eastern Partnership has had success. It is successful, as some people here have said, and it should keep going. There are member states who want to take it apart. to just have the implementation of the agreements which have been signed and then forget about the rest and then slowly forget about the Eastern Partnership. This is basically a statement which says that we should not forget about the Eastern Partnership and we should all keep going together. We shouldn't leave Belarus because they're hopeless. We shouldn't leave Azerbaijan because they're rich but they're evil. We should really stick together. And the Vilnius summit must continue to focus on the best way of supporting the reform process in the EU's eastern neighbourhood and in all the EaP countries. There can be no better way of securing the EU's security than by continuing to work for the establishment of legitimate regimes and prosperous societies on its eastern borders. Those EU member states, this is actually, I'll tell you a secret, and it's not a secret, this is a reference to France. France, it seems, is developing a situation where they are against Eastern enlargement. They don't want any talk or mention of Eastern enlargement, and here they are exactly, their position is exactly the same as that of Russia, because Russia also doesn't want any Eastern enlargement of the EU. So this is a reference. Those EU member states who do not understand that we have to work for happy and prosperous societies on our borders demonstrates a short-sightedness which in a not too distant past has led to tragic calamities in Europe. And so that's really the message. Only those countries which respect human rights, including a free press, which seek to combat corruption, and which choose their leaders and lawmakers in a free and fair way, are inherently stable. The European needs inherently stable, free and prosperous neighbours in its eastern region. This is a message from Chisinau, which the EaP summit in Vilnius must not forget. I don't know, does anyone want to speak to this one? Yes, Stepan, please.
Да, я хочу сразу сказать, что мне не понравилось, что упоминается страна какая-то. Я объясню почему. Потому что этот форум – это серьезная система, наше влияние большое, а в Европейском Союзе принцип консенсуса. Франция как бы и не помогает, но и не блокирует этот процесс. Поэтому я бы сказал бы так, не упомянул бы конкретную страну, чтобы никто не обиделся. Мы все знаем, итальянцы, греки как-то не активны в восточном партнерстве. Просто сказать, что, к сожалению, есть европейские страны, которые более пассивны, но я просто очень боюсь, что упоминание какой-то страны может вызвать реакцию, что они начнут блокировать этот процесс, потому что в Европейском Союзе принимается решение консенсусом. А вот я просто предлагаю быть осторожными, упоминать конкретную страну.
I mentioned France, it's not in the text.
I just want to say that France is not in this text. I mentioned France. I said France as an example, just to clarify the situation as far as France is concerned. But it's not in the text. The only countries which is mentioned in the text in maybe a negative way is Russia. And we just want Russia to start behaving properly. Is there anyone else who wants to speak? Okay. Okay. So let's vote on this one, and then you'll have done your homework by raising your hands. Okay. So that's a majority. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for bearing with me and for listening to me on all these resolutions. I'd like to repeat. This is not a waste of time. These resolutions go on the website. Maybe not many people read them, but there are people who will read them, and these resolutions do play a role. Internally, in countries like Armenia or Azerbaijan, the governments of these countries, officials of these countries, would be happy if we didn't mention these things. It's a negative thing. If we don't mention these things, they say, great, they didn't mention these things. So we have to mention these things, even though it's quite, we're all tired and we'd like to go to the wine festival. The other thing is that there are member states who are also eagerly waiting to hear what we come up with, and this will also be read, especially, I suppose, by the Lithuanian presidency and other countries. So these statements, don't think that these statements aren't important. We know in the steering committee that we have made statements over the last year which have driven governments crazy and caused small rows. So passing resolutions is not a waste of time. This is our political debate that was called for earlier. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for your work. Jarosław, results.
What else do we have to do?
What one is the steering committee? Okay, the new steering committee. And then what? And the group photograph. Okay, while we're waiting, I just want to congratulate the new, well, we don't know who they are, but ahead of time, congratulate the newly elected members of the new steering committee, and also to say that there will be a meeting of the two, old and the new, here immediately after this meeting. So you have the results. You have the results. Great. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have the results of the last voting for EU coordinators, and they are the following. We have 133 ballots, which were thrown into voting boxes, and the results are the following. Should I read just the top three or everyone? Oh, okay. Candidate number one, Dejan Natalia. That's 41 votes. Second candidate, Lepik Anton, that's 20 votes. Third candidate, Pieko Jan, or Jan Pieko, 68 votes. Candidate 4, Radoni Ognian, 36 votes. Candidate 5, Kirill Savin, that's 58 votes. Skalova Ivana, 69 votes. And Vatsiunaite Kristina, 62 votes. Therefore, we have candidate number 6, Skalova Ivana with 69 votes, Jan Pieko with 68 votes, and Kristina Vatsiunaite 62 votes, elected by you as the three coordinators.
Okay, congratulations to those who were elected, and thank you very much for standing to those who were not elected everyone got very good results. Congratulations. Don't leave because there's an announcement. There's a group photograph.
Some technical announcement, and I would invite to make it nice lady Maria. Before Maria starts, the meeting of the old and new steering committee members will take place in conference hall A, which is to the right after you go out from here.
Dear participants, before we close the meeting, I have 3 announcements to make. First, it's a technical one. Did anybody find a charger by accident, or did you find it from an Asus computer? If you did, please come and bring it here near to the stage. After this meeting, we will kindly ask you to go on the first floor where the group photo will take place. And the third announcement is regarding to the wine festival, which is taking place right now in the center of Chisinau on the main square. 3 or 4 volunteers and organizers will be waiting for you outside of this building, so please approach them, and together we will go to the center for the wine festival. After 2 days of hard work, it is time for some fun, and the wine festival is the best choice to do so. Thank you.
So allow me to thank you all for hard work. I congratulate the new steering committee. and wish you nice time this evening and